AJ Chabria. Next to me, as always, Craig Bell. Our guest is superb tonight, as always. This is Melissa McCurley, and I think we're live, CB. Let's roll.
I think we are. Let's see. Let me verify this, do a couple of little things here just to verify that we're on here. I think we should be.
Yep, Craig is running our live feed, and in the meantime, say hello to the woman next to me, Melissa McCurley. Welcome.
Oh, hi. Glad to be here.
So happy
so excited to talk to you guys.
Oh, you're so kind. So happy to have you, CB. Let's get this podcast started.
All right, James Scott Campbell, here we go.
Hello, you are at the net. And welcome, friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Chabria, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right, that was the great Margot Carter with that introduction, and happy Father's Day, happy Juneteenth to AJ right there.
Thank you, and you, Craig. Yes, thank you.
And she did a word of the night. Brilliant introduction, and welcome fans of the great game of pickleball tonight. Normally we talk about great game of tennis, but tonight we're talking about the great game of pickleball.
Love it.
Which is a great game, and it is really coming up. And we were really fascinated to talk to this young lady that's sitting right there in our picture tube. I was going to say tube, but it's really not a tube, is it? I guess we're on YouTube, but I guess, I don't know. I'm showing my age. I had a picture tube, and it was black and white back in my days. I'm telling you, AJ. Welcome fans. We are listening to Season 1, Episode 1. 2, 1 of At the Net podcast with AJC, who's on my left as always, right?
And as always on my right, CB1, as we call him, Craig Bell.
And we're talking the great game of pickleball tonight.
As it seems to us. Yeah.
Thanks also go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That'd be one Darian D. Mac McBrayer. And we did have a brain sighting. You didn't see him.
I did.
But I know he's around. So people know that he is around because I think we're on YouTube right now. So
thank you.
Hopefully, and on Facebook, you'll be able to watch us on both platforms, but he was really on the soundboards. I'm kind of on the soundboards. He gives me a couple little treats. I push the button like Pavlov's dog, and off I go. So, but we are live right now and not holograms, as John Yandel says. The great tennis website says we don't have enough money, right, for holograms.
He knows we don't, but
we're getting close there.
That's right.
Also, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Plus, check out our good work on Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. I made it again. Boy,
well done.
It's that cleansing breath. So that's all the communication sites the kids find popular today, right?
Absolutely right.
Okay. And she's a kid, too, so she probably knows all these things.
She is a young one.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in being with the great Margot Carter, which is going to be hard to knock off the pedestal, maybe Melissa, she'll send us a little demo tape or something like that.
Yeah, email us or hit us on a DM and send me a demo tape, and we'll produce it and get you a script, and we'll get it going. Thank you.
And speaking of brilliant, tonight we have a most brilliant guest. This is a year in the making. Unfortunately, last year I got sick at this time, and so finally we got it hooked back up several months ago that we picked a date, and it happened to be tonight.
Love it.
On Father's Day, Melissa McCurley, and Juneteenth Day at the same time.
Love it.
So welcome to the podcast, the hardest working person in pickleball. This is this person right here. I don't know why she's not doing something pickleball, but she's talking to us knuckleheads, tonight.
That's you can play pickleball a lot, but sometimes on a Sunday night you can promote pickleball.
Okay, well that's what we're doing tonight.
You guys, it's 9:15 here. It's 45 minutes past my bedtime, so that's why I'm not playing pickleball right now.
Oh, that's great. You go to bed early. Good for you. Wow. You must.
No, it's a joke. It's a joke, but it's really not too far off. But.
I can't imagine that you ever sleep. I mean, how many hours a night do you sleep sometimes at tournaments? Do you ever get to 4 or 5 hours of sleep, or do you get the 8 hours?
Yeah, no, during tournament time, it's about a 4 hour, if you get 5 hours on a tournament night, that's fortunate, if you will. So I spent a lot of years working in operations, supporting information technology for some of our world's largest companies. And people always know me as the person who sleeps with one eye open all the time.
I always think, does the mind ever shut off? I mean, sometimes no, never does, huh? And especially,
well, it will between about 9 and 2. So, and if I stay up till 10, it'll be till about 3. But those eyes open up around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and then it's over with for me. That mind just kicks in and off it goes.
Well, your mind is a finely tuned machine, and we want to get in there tonight. CB will be a little bit off screen generally, but he will feed us some questions from the crowd. But in the meantime, I've got a couple of lines of questioning. One, I want to talk less about business for the first bit and just get your background as an athlete and how you fell in love with the great game of pickleball.
So pickleball for us, we didn't know anything about pickleball. I'm from Texas as well, where you guys are located.
Yes.
My home is Tyler, Texas, and we'd come home for Christmas to see my mom, and a relative of mine brought a pickleball set, and we set it up in our driveway, and we would play for hours and hours and hours. I mean, we even got shop lights and set them in the driveway so we could continue into the night, right? So that's how I was first introduced to pickleball, and that was 2007, and I was living in Pensacola, Florida at that time, and I was transferred to Phoenix, Arizona in 2009, and I was playing tennis. It's from sports. My mom kept us involved in everything. I mean, from baton twirling, if you can call that a sport, I'm not sure. To softball, to track, to basketball, to volleyball, to tennis, everything. And so anyhow, when I was playing tennis when I moved to Arizona, and there was a girl on my tennis team that said something about her dad being a national pickleball champion. A national pickleball champion. Yeah, this was in 2009, 2010. And I just said, excuse me, what did you just say, right? And she goes, oh, yeah, you need to check it out. It's on the, Surprise, Arizona, the west side of the valley out here. And they got a big national tournament. They got about 600 players that come out every November. And so I lived in north central Phoenix. I drove over to the west side of the valley, and I could not believe what I was seeing. We used pastel chalk in our driveway, right, to make off the tennis or pickleball court. And I really did think we were the only ones in the world that even had a clue what that was. And there was all these active adults playing pickleball on a real pickleball court. So I called up my mom back in Texas, and I said, Mom, you and Bruce, my stepdad, need to come out here and check this out. So they came, I had wanted my mom. I hadn't lived near her in 21 years, and my career, took me away from home when I was 19. I joined the Navy. And so she and Bruce went back home after that trip, put their house up for sale, and moved to Arizona. And it was ultimately my mom getting involved in the pickleball scene, because keep in mind, at this time, I'm working at American Express.
Yeah.
I was the director of infrastructure there. And so I worked 100 hours a week. I was lucky if I could get out and play some flex league tennis. That's pretty much mostly what I played, but I played some league tennis as well. And so it was my mom who invited me to play in a pickleball tournament, and she and I won silver. I didn't play a lot of pickleball. She and I won silver in that tournament. And so there were some ladies that she played with on a Sunday that were part of that tournament and asked if I'd come out on a Sunday and play. And so I did. And there was a lady there by the name of Jetty Lanius. Her husband, Bob Lanius, is the creator of pickleballtournaments.com.
Wow.
He's now in the Pickleball Hall of Fame for his efforts. So a journey that started almost 15 years ago. And so anyway, she just asked me, Melissa, would you be interested in taking a look at our software? She goes, it's been a hobby for us. It's becoming a business. They were in their 60s. They wanted no part of having a business. So it was actually my brother and I who together started to look at the software, the system. And that was in May of 2014. And so we evaluated it through the summer, and in August of 2014, we bought pickleballtournaments.com, and life has changed forever.
I'm sure. Pickleballtournaments.com Did Jetty and Bob write the code for it, or did they design it? How did they come up with the idea? And my perception is that there were lots of tournaments of pickleball, but not a lot of pro tournaments back then. Or is that wrong, or is that kind of when the pros started happening, not just the nationals?
Yeah, no. So Bob Lanius is the code writer and creator of pickleballtournaments.com. He is, you want to talk about a genius and brilliance. He's on a whole nother level. And then, he was part of the Happy Trails Pickleball Club out in our RV resort in Arizona. And he just started doing some coding to help his club with leagues and that sort. And then, because he figured, creating all these brackets and stuff by hand, it was a lot of work, a lot of mistakes to be made. And so he just knew there had to be a better way. So he just started programming. Jetty would do her woodworking, during the summers. He would do programming on pickleball tournaments. The Arizona Senior Olympics asked for him to help them. He did. The Huntsman World Senior Games in St. George, Utah, asked him to help. Then the USA Pickleball was asking him to help. And this is just software that grew over time. And so when we came on in 2014, there were only 93 tournaments on pickleballtournaments.com. And so fast forward to, 8 years later where we are now, we'll run 1,200 tournaments this year. And there wasn't back then, there weren't pro tournaments. There were only a couple of large tournaments in the country. The national tournament and Grand Canyon State Games, and not too far behind that came Fall Brawl. And and large tournaments were on 8 courts with a couple of hundred players, outside of these national events. And you were limited to the number of tournaments that were available to you around the country. So there was this competition family that really developed, and you knew everybody,
really?
Around the country. Yeah, you knew everybody, because back then there weren't as many places to play back then. And also very limited on the number of tournaments anyone under the age of 50 could play.
Really?
And so, yeah. When I lived in Arizona, there were 2, a Grand Canyon and then nationals. And then USA Pickleball started the regional tournaments that then added some under 50 events. But yeah, you were hard pressed to find any tournament to play if you were under 50 back then. And now look at us. I mean, really, at least for me, any tournament that's not 800, I mean, that's a small tournament for me anymore, right? 800 up to over 2,700 that we had compete in the U.S. Open this year. So back to your question on the pros. So back then there weren't pros. I mean, there were 5-0 players, 4-5 players. John Gullo, he's out of Utah. Mr. Gullo started kind of developing a pro concept through the Tournament of Champions, and that was in 2012. I engaged with him in 2014, one of the first people that I ever met when I went up to Star Valley, Wyoming, to purchase the software from Bob Lanius. John Gullo was there, and he was working the Tournament of Champions, the first tournament to pay prize money. He ultimately then started a professional pickleball federation, but he was ahead of his time. It was just too early, so it really did not take off. But the Tournament of Champions itself has been a huge platform to kind of spring professional pickleball off of, and that tournament continues today. And it is now joined the PPA Tour. It joined that this year. The city of Brigham owns the actual tournament. Mr. Gullo is still very much actively involved. Mr. Lanius, he has a Lanius Cup that the players compete for. The tournament championship itself will go into the Pickleball Hall of Fame, and there's a Lanius wall there that all the players who have won the tournament champions would will have their names on. So it really wasn't until like 2.5 years ago that pro pickleball showed up. You had the U.S. Open, so you had the Tournament of Champions come on around 2012. Then you had the U.S. Open come on in 2016. U.S. Open really redefined pro pickleball. And then about 2.5 years ago in 2019, that's when or 2020, I should say. That's when the two tours, came up, and then they just got started, and COVID hit, and so that was about 6 months of them trying to figure out how to continue with their vision around professional pickleball. So they did some exhibitions and invitationals and things like that until they could start up tournaments again, and which was like September of 2020. They just went full bore again, and it's never slowed down.
It really hasn't. You mentioned the PPA. There's also the APP Tour, and they both use you and your company.
Yeah. So I've been so excited to work with both tours at pickleballtournaments.com. Our mission and what we wake up excited to do every day is serve tournament directors and do so to our best of our ability to help them be successful. And it's what we do through not only our software, but through our services. People may not know that we're a huge services business, and we provide a lot of services to customers, from marketing to advertising to doing registration management for them, to doing their bracketing for them, their scheduling for them, and then going on site and running their events. And what I mean by that is doing all their court management for them, all their score entry for them, to ensure that we use what's our now 15 years of knowledge and expertise through, management policies, procedures, communication, and just precise execution of those, processes to help these events run as smoothly as possible. Pickleball tournaments are not easy. I tell people, if you can run a pickleball tournament, you can do anything. Yeah. I mean, some of these large events that are running, U.S. Open runs 60 courts. We'll run 49 courts at the national tournament. And, we could be turning, 80, 90, sometimes 100 matches an hour. And so you can imagine how wild that is.
That's even crazier when you're coming from tennis, thinking of that many, just the volume, the sheer volume, which is one of Craig's questions and mine. How have you done it? I know there's software. I know there's a service angle. I know you have best practices down. In fact, you probably coach many tournament directors on those. But the spreadsheet, or if you could, I feel like it's time to get into the nuts and bolts of how you get people on and off in time like that. And when I say people, we're talking about professional players, but also a lot of age group and recreational levels on those 49 or 60 courts. How are you doing it?
Yeah, we'll be managing that. Plus, we're managing a championship court for broadcasting, for some of the, for some big ESPN Plus tennis channel, right? Tennis Channel did San Clemente last week for the fan. I mean, it goes on CBS Sports Network. But it's all in the planning and preparation. So you're right. I do a lot of consulting and coaching and teaching, and I have people on my team that do that as well for people that are running tournaments. And so it's all in that planning. And inside of our system, we have a day planner. And, and our system will help us as registrations are coming in across multiple different skill and age levels. I could be running 20 to 21 different events all at one time, and we typically run 3-0s to 5-0s to pros, and they'll be broken out by age, right? 19s, 35s, 50s, and then after 50s, often 5-year age increments. And so as we're planning and preparing for that, our day planner will give us a picture of how we're utilizing the courts and give us recommendations for when we should start events so that we are utilizing the courts to their most maximum efficiency in a first come, first serve type or first off, first on type court distribution. I call it a distribution method. Yeah. There's multiple ways to run tournaments. If you're running some of your round robin type events, you can do dedicated court assignments and just assign certain divisions to those. But with these large events, we have to use the courts, whatever's available. I could be playing a 3-5 match on that right now, and then 45 minutes later, it could be a 4-5 match on there, right? And so our planner helps us do all of that scheduling. And then when we get to the tournament site, it's up to us to manage that to that plan. And if we're off of plan, then there's a process breakdown somewhere, unless it's a weather related event, something like that we can't control. Otherwise, that engine should run like a fine oiled machine. And our software allows us to do score entry. And based on that score entry, it will automatically move the brackets forward. The most events I run at one time are 56. I run 56 events all at one time. You put the scores in, the software will automatically move the brackets forward and automatically print out your score sheets for you. And then as we get the score sheets, we assign those matches to a court. A text message goes out to the players telling them to, which court that they need to report to, and off they go. And we have averages of times that it takes to play matches that we build that plan around. So, and those depends on the size of the venue, whether or not the players are calling their own matches. Is it a tournament or every match has a referee on it? So all of these factors go into play to put average start times around your winner's bracket matches and your loser's bracket matches, your bronze medals and your gold medals. Primarily in pickleball, it's a double elimination sport. So if you lose a match, you can still come around and win the championship, right? But there are some tournaments, US Open is one, that you can't do that. If you lose, the best you can do is bronze. On the APP Tour, everybody can come back around. USA Pickleball, everybody can come back around. For the PPA, everybody can come back around except for their pro divisions. And those are best you can do as bronze if you lose in that top level, that winner's side.
I've always loved the language, and in both pickleball and table tennis, I've come through what they call the opportunity bracket, where you lose early, but you come through, and then, I'm vying for a bronze. This is amazing. Like, how did that happen? Yeah.
I love it. And I call it that too, an opportunity, because you still have an opportunity. Now, once you get down there, you could be playing a lot of matches, right?
Of course. It's a long day or two.
It's a long day. So when people come and tell me, they're like, Melissa, slow down. I'm going too fast. I'm like, hey, listen, if you wanted to have more time between your matches, you should have won and stayed on. You
should have won that first one. Yeah.
That's right. Get back out there. Get in shape.
I love that attitude. Craig and I started playing, both of us, 1973, 74?
Tennis?
Tennis,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. And we, of course, remember the days when, just as players, when all the draw sheets were handwritten. The high-tech tournament directors would use a different color for the seeds, and maybe red or
different
blue
Sharpies.
for the seeds.
Is that what you're saying?
Different Sharpies, yeah, or marks a lot. Magic marker marks a lot. So we're coming from that, and then as college players and tournament directors and guys who run a club, we've encountered some of that mindset of, hey, I'm not going to do anything I can't do well. We're limiting this, or we're going to do what we do well, and we're going to just play the women's division that weekend and the men's that weekend. All that old mindset is finished and done, particularly with you using 49 courts and the ability to fit it all in like a genius.
Now you see why I said the word brilliant?
This is why.
Oh, the word of the night. I was sitting there thinking about this. I have a word of the night every
Sunday night. Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking, okay, usually I kind of try to get it into the vernacular of who we're talking with. But I was sitting there, it just kept coming back to me. It's like, this is a brilliant guest with a brilliant mind. And I just like, when I met you, I remember the moment we were at the Texas Open over at Coppell at Wagon Wheel. Yeah. And I was talking to Melissa. Jean Ann Stasny had introduced us, and I was doing the live stream over there with Tex-Mex. And I said, well, how many matches are you doing this weekend? Just kind of thinking, because it's going to be clever. And she goes, about 500. And I'm like, 500? She's like, I go, wow, 500 matches. She goes, that's nothing. I'm like, what do you mean that's nothing? She goes, that's about what we do a day at Margaritaville. And I was like, wait a minute. I go, you're there 10 days. That's about 5,000 matches that you do in Indian Wells in November. I'm sitting there shaking my head, walking away going, no. There's more to this than what I started realizing at that point that even to this day, on Tex-Mex live stream that we've done a lot of events, that pickleball is still the highest live streamed event.
When we did courtside commentary, you mentioned CBS Sports, ESPN3, and all that. So we've worked alongside all of those, and that's where when we'd interview a pro player, invariably they would mention Margaritaville, and what you mentioned, they'd call it TOC, Tournament of Champions, which is sort of the original granddaddy kind of tournament, huh?
Yeah, they were the original. And I said the U.S. Open can't come along, and and then your Pro Tours, and of course USA Pickleball does their Golden Ticket Series events to play at the National Championships in Indian Wells in November. So all exciting things. And these players playing in these tournaments, we can have anyone from 8 years old up to 90 years old.
Unreal.
Playing in these, and we'll have all of those different skill levels and age divisions. All playing. Gender doubles, mixed doubles, singles, and it's just exciting. The energy at a pickleball tournament is like no other. People intermingling and moving around, and just cheering, and from it doesn't matter. You can have a crowd of people around a 3-0 tournament, or a match, and you can have crowds around your pros. They're just everywhere, and some people, tournaments aren't for everybody, right?
Yeah.
But people who really love to be there and want to make a day of it, and just enjoy everything that it has to offer. Usually there's all kinds of different tournaments. There's also one we call World Pickleball Tour, and they're taking care of a different niche, which is kind of in some of your smaller towns around the country. And, and they're doing some amateur payouts, which is interesting for tournaments that choose to do that. But it's just kind of more of a smaller, kind of what I call back in the day type tournaments that were usually running on 10 to, maybe 16 courts. And it's just a smaller, fun feel. And, people ask me all the time, what's a preference for tournaments? I said, there is no preference. I said, it's whatever you want to create. What kind of personality do you want to have for your tournament? What kind of experience do you want to give people at your tournament? Because it is different for everybody. If you want to do more social, where a lot of people are coming and playing as many games as possible, that's more of a round robin type, tournament. But if you want to come and create more of what I call a more competitive environment, I mean, round robins can be competitive, but this is competitive to the extent that if you want to play more games, you got to come to win, or you're going to be 2 into the house.
There's some of the coaching side of what Melissa does. I love that too. Here's we've loved hearing about your background and your brilliance on the math, science, algorithm, and spreadsheet side. Let's talk a little bit about the user experience. That's one of those hot words in business these days, right? Why do pro players and recreational players alike love coming to your events? What is different about not just the way it's organized, but the way it's presented?
So they're not really our events. The events that are being put on are our customers, right?
Makes sense.
But I would say that the reason that our customers bring us on to help them run their events is because of our knowledge and our expertise and our care for their brand, right? Their brand is just important to us as our own brand is, because when they look good, we look good. When they succeed, we succeed, and we have a true passion around helping them be the very, very best they can be. So I would say, back in the day when I first came on, there was some other people running tournaments, and they weren't using any software to do it. They weren't using pickleballtournaments.com. And so there began to be this buzz going around that, hey, this pickleballtournaments.com group, they're for real. And they, you don't want to go to a tournament if they're not using pickleballtournaments.com, right? Because we could, it's like I said, a 15-year history. We have it down to an art and a science. And, I tell people all the time, someone can always throw a piece of software in front of you. But if you don't know how to use it, it's kind of like, a chainsaw. Heck, you can throw a chainsaw in my hands, but I'm going to get dangerous with that thing. I have no clue how to use it, right?
Yeah.
Software is the same way. It's a tool. And if you don't know how to use that tool, then that's all it is a tool. And so, the tool makes all the difference in how effectively you can execute a job. And that's our tool.
Yeah. Well, it's also conviviality. That's the first time I've mentioned it. I've already said it on the typing. I've been talking to people. We've got a lot of questions lined up, actually.
Good.
But the conviviality factor, that's too convivial tonight.
Yeah.
That's my word. It's friendly. It's very inviting. Pickleball has become. I've lived through the tennis boom. I know you have.
Of course.
Melissa's not old enough to live through the tennis boom, but
I don't know. This camera must be making me look really young. Oh, you guys are just all about flattery, but I didn't know I was going to bring a dictionary. You were going to use those big words.
Well, convivial, that's a big word for a kid from Oklahoma. But I caught it from Rick Steves, the European travel guide. So he always says convivial, and I've been following him on Instagram, and every time they post something up, I always use, looks like a convivial place. I'm sure they're getting mad at me. They're going to be unfollowing me or on Tex-Mex Stream because they're going to go, who the heck is talking about convivial?
It is okay to push people, and convivial, it's not that tough.
No, it's very friendly.
Con meaning life, and vivial, con meaning with, and viv meaning life. With life.
That's what pickleball reminds me of.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. I mean, I've just been really fascinated, to watch this, and meet people involved in pickleball because what Melissa's talking about right there, as the hardest working person in pickleball, there isn't anybody she doesn't know. We could probably name, we could start running off names and she probably knows who all these people are. So
I threw a couple of very obscure brand new tour players, and she'd already run a tournament and run their names through a massive algorithm. So well done there.
Well, she probably knows a lot of names, maybe not always the faces, but I'm sure she's seen, how many people are playing pickleball? Just out of curiosity right now, I'm going to divert just for a second.
This is a good, I like this. That was one of my questions anyway. Thanks, CB.
How many people are playing pickleball? Just out of curiosity, what do you think?
Well, so I mean, I'll break that out in two different categories, if you will. The competition player, right? When we started running pickleball tournaments, there were like 15,000 players in our tournament database playing. We got 140,000 in there now.
Whoa.
And so, and then depending on what you believe by the numbers that are put out, I think it's the one of the sports industries that puts out, there's about 4.2 million people or so playing. I think that number is probably much higher. Playing here in the U.S., I would guesstimate that number's somewhere over 6 million people that are playing recreational pickleball, every single day. And a lot of the celebrities getting involved is really, helping explode the sport too.
Plus all the people buying pastel chalk and like how you started in Tyler, Texas. I mean, there's no way to track that digitally. Right. Can you track sidewalk chalk sales?
No, I'm sure that's probably gone up.
But you guys were right. So when the pandemic came, right? I mean, the event business for us just really almost came to a halt.
I'm sure.
But what happened on the retail side, through Pickleball Central, is it exploded. And I mean, we estimate some 400,000 people came in playing pickleball during the pandemic who otherwise would not have even come to play, because now they could play in their driveway, they could play in their cul-de-sacs, they could play in their backyards, And some people who had the means, heck, they just brought the concrete truck in, right, and poured a big court in their backyard. And so amazing at what happened during that time for new people coming into play.
Yeah, that is real, and it gives us an opportunity to mention our sponsor. We have 3 sponsors, so let's talk about Master Systems, who builds not just tennis courts, sports courts, basketball courts, but has made so many of the ones that Melissa just described, pickleball courts, where people have the means and they want their driveway or they want their backyard to have a slab and a gorgeous court.
Yeah, the great Blair Descaray. I don't think Melissa's met him, but we're going to introduce you to him because we know you're coming back to Texas sometime soon.
And he's a very good athlete, and when he picks up pickleball, he'll be in your tournaments.
Right. Yeah. So he's great. And he'll do anything in usually around the North Texas area.
It's usually here. It's local.
He might even go to Tyler though. If you still have relatives over in Tyler.
Yeah, he's been to the lakes. He's been to all those lake communities in East Texas, and also Waco.
Right.
Yeah.
So his circle of influence is large, but Blair's great. Master Systems. Anybody needs a net or anything like that, that's he can send you that or balls. Yeah. So the great Blair Descaray with Master Systems. We always mention our buddy and good amigo Blair Descaray.
Good ad read, CB. Thank you. And we got to go to the second set, which is all about current and future projects. And of course, Melissa, you've given us a good background. You've talked a little bit about the current state. Give us your forecast of future projects as it relates to not just you, but pickleball in general. What's going on in the world and what's about to happen?
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys may hear a lot. There's a focus through international, groups that are trying to help the sport grow worldwide, and it's growing in a big way, all around bringing pickleball to the Olympics, and the expectation is in 2028, pickleball would at least be a demonstration sport. But I always say expect the unexpected. Heck, maybe it comes into the Olympics by then. Who knows? So that's one of the big things that's going on internationally. And then, as more and more places are built to play, you're seeing 4 courts, 2 courts, 6 courts pop up everywhere. That's just going to continue to give more people places to play. And my, vision, we talked about, the competition side. And back when I came in, I used to be able to fly around the country and literally going door to door, helping people run tournaments. And back then I could still play too, by the way, guys. I gave you guys some of those pictures where I used to be on the medal stand.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty good.
You're so good.
But I don't have time to play anymore. So, but anyway, besides that, I'd forgotten that on the background piece. But as people went around the country, because there were limited places to play, and that's how the tournament scene kind of grew, now people are getting more opportunities to compete in their local areas, right?
Yeah.
Through leagues and through their clubs and that sort. So for the future, I see more of that type of thing happening. There'll always be a place for tournaments. But for the future, I see more people competing locally and being able to get the competition that maybe they can't get now, which causes them to seek out tournaments where people go to compete, right? And then on the professional side, I do see for the future there just being a professional tour or 2 professional tours to where you're coming just to watch the professionals play.
Yes.
Pickleball, as the game gets faster, as the players, different players come in from different kinds of backgrounds or from the development scene. They grew up as a pickleball player, right? Those that came in and they started playing pickleball when they were 4 years old.
Right.
You got pickleball because colleges, some of the colleges have some pickleball programs now too, right? So the future may see people getting pickleball scholarships, and then seeing these folks, come in to help create that professional side. And as the sport evolves, I do think more spectators will come in. I mean, I already see more spectators now than I would have told you I thought we'd see 3 years ago, because people love to play pickleball. It hasn't necessarily been something that people love to watch. But like I said, as the game gets faster, as the talent gets better, I'm seeing a shift in people being interested in coming to watch the game.
That is interesting. Yeah. I know we can draw upon our experience as broadcasters at some of these. Most of the people who are spectating are players of pickleball, and that's starting to change because now people see it as a big time sport to go watch spectator wise. And your point about the Olympics, that will, when we did that, we were broadcasting to 16 countries where they also had that same Texas Open. When it becomes an Olympic sport, it'll blow up in those countries, but I think it will add so much prestige right here. And I happen to know my college-age son has all these friends who started pickleball at 16 or 15, and they're kind of good now. And like you said, they play on a club team at their universities. We met a couple of juniors, age 16.
Oh, yeah, at Texas Open.
And they were fine junior players, but they were playing the men's division, men's open.
Right, yeah.
Amazing to see that.
Right.
Yeah.
One kid from Austin, I believe.
That's right.
And
Corpus also.
Yeah. No. And then there's the great Anna Lee Waters. That,
she's what, teenager.
She's just barely out of diapers and she's beating people. I mean, that's so impressive. I sit there watching her, and I'm like, golly, how does she do that? Is she 15 or 16 now, something like that?
She's 15, and 15. When you would have seen her there at that Texas Open that you're talking about, because we went from Coppell, we moved into the Lifetime, remember, because we had rain.
That's right.
Right.
So Craig was watching her compete at age 12 finals, right, with her mom, Lee Waters, and so they're really, really impressive. And I got to say before I forget, the works of people like Ken Herman, the Pardos, and now certainly Dundon Capital Planning, who acquired pickleball tournaments back in December, just doing a tremendous job paving new paths, right? So there's a lot of people that have paved paths to get where we are. Now they're paving their paths of their own to help the sport, just continue to explode.
Yeah, we heard about that. He's a big deal here in Dallas.
He's a big deal. We know him, and we consider him a big deal.
He's a big deal.
A future guest on the show for sure. Hey, we've got some interesting questions from some of your fans. Yes. Scott McCullough has a great question.
Oh, yes. I spoke at a conference Scott was doing. Yes. Hi, Scott.
Yeah. So he said, Melissa's a rock star. What are the top 3 things that you would share with a facility or club who just put in pickleball courts? What are some things that basically do they need to do some type of programming, or they just roll it out there and kind of go, hey, here we are? Or
you can do it all, really. I mean, you build them those courts, they're going to come. So I just think creating opportunities for all ages to be able to play, which then means different hours, right? A lot of times places that create programming, they're creating things in the middle of the day where some of the younger people can't necessarily play. But I just think having as much available court time as you can, introductory programs to make it safe and feel, not intimidating for somebody coming in to play for the first time, and then giving people opportunity to advance their skills through lessons, clinics, and then, round robin type plays, events, and keep the social aspect into it at the club level.
Let me ask you a follow-up question also, too, because Scott brings up an interesting point also, too, because I have a different rabbit hole that I can go down with this also, too. This question, do you see the leagues being the next big movement for pickleball in clubs and facilities like it has for tennis? You see the league?
I do, okay. And that was one of the things I just shared in the second game, right?
Yes.
Second
game.
Right. Second game.
Well, yes. So in the second game, also known in some of your shows as the set, right?
That's correct.
So, yes, I do see a future in leagues. So, the clubs that have the ability to create those leagues, people are filling them up. So, yeah, definitely a future there.
Because now here's where I'm going with my thought on league play versus tournament play. Because USTA was always known. I'm going to switch back to tennis. I'm going to draw a correlation here. And I think this is important because I want to get your opinion on it because you know this stuff like the back of your hand. In my mind, when I started playing tournaments, there were very few leagues, other than in-house leagues. USTA sponsored tournament play throughout the United States. Didn't really ever do leagues. Leagues were always done either in the city or at a club level, but not USTA level. Then by about the mid-'80s, USTA switched over to league play. They go, okay, let's do league play. Let's jump into there. And then tournament play they were still doing, but it started dropping way off in adult tournament play. And
not kids, but
adult tournaments, right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were some huge tournaments. I mean, there was the Houston Coke tournament that had 2,000 people in the 80s. I played in it a couple of times, and I was like, whoa, there were 2,000 people playing in this tournament. That's nothing compared to what you're doing. But for tennis, that was large at the time, 88, 89. And then you started seeing a tick away at all the tournaments because leagues, USTA leagues were really on the rise, and league play's taken over tournament play. So I know we're kind of I'm walking, I'm running before I'm really crawling on this thought process. But is there a potential? Do you see where I'm kind of going with leagues? Do leagues cannibalize tournament play? Because your tournaments are great. I mean, that's where I hate to see that thing get cannibalized by league play. People go, well, it's easy to just play league. I'll just kind of hang around the club and, we'll just do, a USA, PA, league as opposed to, coming to, a tournament. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, no, I know what you mean, and so I think that's yet to be seen, for us because pickleball is such a social game, and you really create family across the nation. And I mean the way that people treat you. I mean, pickleball is very common to have host homes and host families, and I mean I've gone to people's homes who I hadn't even met, and they're not even at home. They've left their car for me, they've left a room for me, and then when they did arrive home a couple days later, I'm sitting down for dinner, spaghetti dinner that they've made, right? And so tournaments create that ability for people to go visit their families in other states and other regions of the country. And so because of that factor, I don't know that tournaments will be cannibalized, if you will, like it may have been in other sports, because I think there's that need to stay connected with the families and stay connected in the sense that I may be great in my local area, but can I take my great talents here and go be competitive, in the East region or the West region or up in the Northeast and at a national event? So I just think there'll always be a need for those type of tournament competition in pickleball because of that. To me, that's a differentiator in the sport, is that, family connection.
Yeah, good answer. I mean, that's because I just saw that, that correlation. I started thinking about that several years ago, that, tournament play for tennis is way down. I mean, way down. I mean, there's still some big tournaments around. Austin sponsors Westwood, which is a national tournament on Memorial Weekend, which is, you get 500 people, but that's not that big compared to, that's a walk in the park for a pickleball tournament. And it just seems like that tennis did itself a disservice by jumping into the league mode where they could have left it alone in tournament, because tournament play was the happening thing back when I was back in the 70s and the 80s. I'm sure probably
definitely
upstate New York,
same,
right there.
Feel the same.
Also, let me ask you another question here. Nick Smith, one of our local pros that is in the North Texas area, he has a really interesting question. He says, he doesn't see a lot of pickleball coverage on TV. Do you feel that in the future, what's the future for broadcasting for pickleball events, maybe on the main channels? I know it's been on Tennis Channel, done some live streaming. There's some on YouTube. There's a bunch of stuff like that. Will it hit ABC, CBS, ESPN, that kind of thing?
Yeah. And so I don't know if Nick saw, but, Tennis Channel has now put pickleball on a couple of times. But yes, expect to see a major network broadcasting pickleball before 2022 ends.
That was the surprise you were talking about.
It was?
I'm wondering, because you said there are a couple surprises coming. We're talking about the Olympics.
Right.
But,
Oh, yeah. No, I was talking about the Olympics. Yeah, no, I didn't bring a bucket of surprises. So, no, I'm just answering the question.
I was going to play the breaking news, like, dun, 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 dun.
Yeah. No, I remember in 2016, I didn't think we'd see a CBS Sports bucket hanging over a championship court that early. I knew it would eventually come, but heck, I mean, that's already been 6 years ago. So, yes, for Nick, it's coming.
Yeah, and Nick, shout out to the Tennis Channel for covering that San Clemente tournament a week or two ago. Yeah. Amazing.
They used robotic cameras. They used in-studio broadcasting. That coverage was incredible.
Yeah. Blair Descaray says hi. The great Blair Descaray is chiming in, so he must have heard his name. So
love it.
Right at the right time,
Happy Father's Day, Blair D.
Right.
Love you, man.
Right. Well, I'll get to another question here in a second, but we'll go back.
Well, I think it's time. Let's let's wind down the second game here with a question from Mark Faber,
one of our former guest, Mark Faber of Faber College.
Faber College,
right.
Yeah.
Did you ever see
National Lampoon's
Animal House? Did you ever see that movie, Melissa?
I have not. I thought you were going to say Christmas Vacation, but no, I haven't seen Animal House. You might be missing out.
Well, that's the college they were at, was Faber College. It was a fictitious college, but we have a good buddy up in the Ohio region that is named Mark Faber. So we got some shirts. Actually, he made some shirts that say Faber College on there.
We designed some retro cool shirts for Mark. What's Mark's question? Always good question.
Let me read this here to see.
Yeah.
Okay. Any advice on handle this? Okay, let me see. Okay, sorry. Pickleball is growing like wildfire. All levels of play. We're starting to see things become a little bit tougher to get the wide range of levels. There we go. Range of levels.
He's pointing to how convivial people were, no matter what level. Like I'm a 5.0, whatever, and you're a 3.5. Get in here.
Right.
Let's play. Or you're new to this. Here's a paddle. I think what Mark is maybe alluding to is we see less of that in the sport of tennis. And is he suggesting that? Are we starting to see a little more stratification in the pickleball world?
That's correct, probably. Yeah. I'm reading fast.
Yeah, and certainly. I mean, you're going to see that happen. In fact, we have some of that going. I live in Hilton Head, South Carolina, here at Sun City, where there's, they're also, and there's one of many clubs that are trying to do this, to where, I guess let me just answer it this way. It is in pickleball. That's become an issue. But I think it's the responsibility to places that have the opportunity to have programming. So like back to what Scott was asking, to be able to have a place where the people can come in at their level, they can compete, but they also then have an opportunity to challenge up to other levels. And so I know that a lot of higher level players don't necessarily have a problem with people who are trying to challenge themselves to get better, to come in and play play a game or two and then, move on. Right. And, but I think it's the people that really have the issue when if that player who is trying to work their ranks up then doesn't want to leave. Right. It's like, that's where they can get frustrated. And I think as those players move their way up and there's clubs that are creating a path for those people through their programming to give them that opportunity to get better, I think that you'll see more tolerance, for lack of a better term, for people just wanting to only have their court time for themselves against other people that are of their equal level.
Yeah.
Makes good sense. Great question from a great mind there, Mark Faber.
I thought I had one more question from Nick Smith again. Okay. Yeah, kind of along the same line. Another thought, do you feel that tension, maybe programming between tennis and pickleball a little bit? Do you see that ever out there in your travels? Do the tennis people get mad, like, look at those damn pickleball people over there, get off our courts, kind of deal?
Sure.
Do they say get off my lawn? Do you get a few of those crusty old curmudgeons like
yeah. Oh, you're always going to have that, right? And you guys may or may not know, but we just came off of Memorial Day weekend through the APP tour, which, by the way, Ken created. He's a great visionary. He created the APP Melissa McCurley Cup, right?
Oh, you've got a tournament named after you.
Yeah.
It's a senior pro event. 72 seniors came to play. The first time there's been a senior pro team event. It was really cool, and it was held at the USTA Billie Jean King Tennis Center. So here we are as pickleball, right, having a large pickleball tournament at the greatest USTA campus in the world. And we also were earlier the year down in Orlando at the USTA campus. And of course, we're at the big tennis facility in Indian Wells. And so I think that those opportunities and tennis at those levels, embracing pickleball, is help paving the path for other people to, maybe give it a try. And if you hear story after story, oh, pickleball, that's where tennis player goes to die, oh, pickleball, that's a tennis player's graveyard. You hear all of those things, but then a lot of times you hear so many tennis players that have come in and they're like, oh my gosh, I love this game. And some of them still play both tennis and pickleball. And you'll have some of them talk about how tennis and pickleball actually help, one game over the other. Tennis Magazine's getting ready to have a 24-page spread on pickleball. And, you'll have Ben Johns, who's the number one pickleball player in the world now, on the front cover with both his tennis and
he's got a white tennis racket and a pickleball paddle right there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So those things will help continue to keep the sport together. Both sports need each other. If you ask me, I know that there's people that are diehard tennis players or diehard pickleball players, but over time, and you're still going to have those people. There's nothing you can ever do, but over time, I think that there is more, interaction and more acceptance for both. But quite frankly, these tennis clubs are seeing a financial opportunity, right? Oh, yeah. There's a revenue opportunity. You can get a lot more people, on pickleball courts than you can on tennis courts. They take up less real estate. And you build a pickleball court, you better look out. It's going to be overrun the next day. So some people are programming for business reasons and financial opportunities, and then that gives the game exposure to other people. And if you're just willing to say, be a little open-minded, give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't have to play, but you don't have to hate it either.
Oh, how can you hate it? And also, it reminds me of a line that I heard back in the 70s or 80s when I remember a curmudgeonly person would say, I don't play squash or racquetball. It messes with my tennis. And I remember his wife or somebody really intelligent in that circle, she said, are you really that fragile? And I thought, that's how I feel about pickleball, squash, padel, tennis, table tennis. I've never not embraced any of these. And I'm like, does it? I don't think it ruins my tennis, but maybe it kind of helps. And, my mind can switch between the grip I need for that backhand in pickle versus the grip I need for this backhand in in tennis. We're not that fragile. We can handle it, right, folks?
You got racket skill or paddle skill. You just have it. You can just switch amongst them.
The one thing I wish USTA, I heard that there might have been some opportunities between USTA and USAPA several years ago, or maybe many years ago. Maybe to convert the court right here, because I was sitting there going, dadgummit, because this would have been really great to have a tennis court, be able to just have a 6-foot line, because it's 20. I know the pickleball line's better than I know tennis lines. Trust me.
Yeah.
At 44 feet, service line to service line is 42 feet.
Yeah, 42, right. 21 plus 21. Yeah.
Right. It could have been a little wider, but maybe, the kitchen being, or the no volley zone 6 feet instead of 7 feet, and you would have had tens of thousands of courts that could have easily been converted. With one line right there. And that just makes me, hotter than because we built 3 new dedicated courts, and all these courts inside. I've had 16 courts going. I have 4 indoor courts. You can see 2 right now, Melissa, and then just 2 on the other. I had Dave Fleming. We did a charity event about 3 years ago. Tyson came by.
McGuffin was here.
He was here. He was in the house. Yeah, we had about 16 courts, 140 people doing this charity event, and we had 16 courts, and it was awesome. And I've got all the courts marked off in here for pickleball, actually, and we've got nets back there, and we just pull them off and do things. But I certainly wish that there would have been some I don't know, calmer heads, or there maybe some working or adjusting a little bit to. I think it was more USTA than USAPA. I don't know if you were in on those talks or not at that time.
No, certainly wasn't. But I think USTA is doing more to help tennis facilities with funding and that sort to be able to paint pickleball lines and for their courts. And so that's being helpful too. And then any tennis facility that has some real estate to do some court conversions, they're doing those as well. Yeah,
I mean it's we see it here in the North Texas area, quite a lot of facilities around it. There was a park over probably about 3 miles away that one of my front desk guys, he's an older gentleman who's retired that used to be a rep around the area, for a clothing rep, and there's 4 new courts over at this rec center, and they are packed all day long, all day. I mean, and they have great lights too. I mean, I drove by, I was like, damn, those are LED lights. That's nice. A city park.
Just like you right here.
Yeah. I mean, they were awesome. I was like, well, and they were at least, 416 were playing, probably another 10 to 12 just sitting there waiting to play. This was probably about 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. A couple nights ago, I was driving by. I'd like to just look and see what people are doing out there. Just
your finger on the pulse.
Well, it's kind of interesting just to see, because this is a place that people aren't paid to get things going, stir the dust up, so to speak. So it was just kind of impressive to see a city facility being utilized. And North Texas has actually jumped on the pickleball bandwagon, that's for sure.
Oasis is going all pickleball. They're going to have 42 pickleball courts by the time we're there for the Texas Open in November, making it the largest pickleball facility in all of Texas. So, they're no more Oasis tennis. And pickleball. It's just going to be pickleball.
Yeah, that's. I wish it was a little closer to us over here. It's a little bit of a hike.
Solid 40 minutes east.
Yeah. It's a great area, and it's a really nice facility.
It's by a lake. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I wish it would be just a little touch bit closer, but because I like going over there and watching. I would go over there, and that's a PPA tournament, I believe.
That's right.
Texas
PPA
Open.
Tour, Texas Open. Yeah.
Switch hats there.
That's right.
Back and forth.
Switch them all.
She wears them all.
Right. Yes. Are you going to be driving the Winnebago? Do you still have the Winnebago?
Yeah. When you travel, how do you do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So I did travel by motorhome for 4.5 years. That was my full-time home. And when I moved out here to Hilton Head from Arizona, I sold the motorhome, went into a condo, and then I just sold my condo last month, and I am moving into a house. So I haven't had a house in about 8 years. So I'm pretty excited about that transition.
Melissa, congratulations. That's huge. That's great.
I thought she was like John Madden, maybe. You didn't like to fly.
Travel only by tour bus.
No.
Tour bus,
well, listen, I don't like to fly. I'm terrified of it. People who know, so it's very stressful for me. But so most, but I obviously have to get on the airplane from time to time, and otherwise now I'm just driving the car and doing the hotel thing when I'm in driving distance.
Nothing wrong with that. That's how I enjoy also. Hey, Melissa, as we wind down this second game and head to the third, tell us Are there some questions that you wish we had asked you in this second game about current and future projects, what you're doing?
I can't think of any that you haven't asked that I would say, but I would, one of the things that I touched on the game itself,
Yes.
a little bit about pickleballtournaments.com is, we are continuing to evolve the experience with use of the software from both the player experience and a tournament director experience. And so that's exciting. We get a lot of feedback from people on things that they want and need. And as the game, evolves in the competition space and the pro space, we'll be able to meet a lot of those needs for them. So I could follow you if I want to see what's happening with you at a pickleball tournament, right? You'll be able to see things about yourself and your accomplishments and things like that. So that's the only other thing that I would touch on is that we keep and continue to evolve with the game as a services and software company as well.
Tremendous. I love hearing that, and I congratulate you and your whole company, really.
Yep.
Craig, anything else before we head to the third game?
Well, I want to ask you real quick
yes.
about PT University. I found it really fascinating. I was doing some research on pickleball tournaments, and you run is it a 5-day workshop to train people how to run tournaments and be a part of a pickleball experience? Is that correct?
Yeah, so we're developing PT University. We expect to launch that this fall. And yes, very good on that homework. Really, I'm impressed. So yes, PT University. And we're looking to partner with facilities. I think Pictona down in the Daytona Beach area will be the first one. They're actually have broken ground and building a second facility that's really designed around training and programming. And so I had asked them if they would be interested in us being a part of that. So it's an opportunity for people to come on site to learn how to run tournaments. I try to differentiate people who know how to really run a tournament by asking questions that tells me, are they just data entry people or do they really understand what they're managing, right? And so we'll have the opportunity to help people understand what they're managing. Before we ever even get into the tools, what are the type of organization skills and organization do you need to have? Communication planning, policy planning, processing or processes and procedures and things like that. Teach them. And how do you set up the flow for a tournament, for spectator flow, for player flow, so set up in that sort on a tournament. And what is the difference in the role of a tournament operator, which is the role that we play, and a tournament director? So understanding roles and responsibilities and the importance of people filling those roles and understanding those responsibilities as part of a bigger team to actually execute a tournament. And then we'll go through the use of the tool on pickleballtournaments.com to actually do the tournament operations piece of that. So yes, thank you for that, Craig. PT University, something I've wanted to do for a long, long time. But, unfortunately, I haven't been able to have the university, but fortunately I've been able to have webinars, consulting services, knowledge shares, and then the opportunity to go on site and train people to run their own events is another way to help people. And so this will just be a place where people can come together and get that knowledge in one place on site at a location so that you can really show how a tournament comes to life.
I wonder if an evolution of this is some sort of an app that people can access on an iPad or a phone. What do you think of that? Is that part of your plan?
Yes, it is. And we have the base for one already. It's called the PT Player app. And right now people can use it to check themselves in, like when they're going to a tournament. We'll continue to build off of that type of app to improve the experience for people so that they can interact in as much of a self-help way as possible. Because, now, you guys have seen our process. The process that we use to run a tournament today will go into the Pickleball Museum one day. I mean, I have the original clothespins. I have the original baskets. I have the original clipboards that we use, and we will take the entire process that we know today. That one will go into the Pickleball Museum, and we'll have a new one that's fully electronic in how it's managed.
I
Unreal.
mean,
that's so awesome.
I've watched a little bit. I was watching her run the tournament over at the Texas Open. I was sitting there. I was, they had, Brain had to call me. Hey, Craig, it's about to go on live. I was sitting there watching. I was sitting there going, I'm more interested in this.
And how,
what's back of the house?
And how this genius goes from clothespins and clipboards to an app. I love it.
Yeah. We look like short order cooks back there.
Yeah, short order. It's funny. Craig's word of the day is brilliant, and he means it in the most American way. Because back in England, they'll say brilliant, and they're describing a duck catching a fish or something. Oh, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Well, and the folks from the UK had come over a couple of years ago, and at the U.S. Open, I give a lot of people tours, especially people coming from other countries, to the behind the scenes of what's happening in that operations center. And they used the word brilliant. They said we were like, and then they described it as like surgeons that were just executing with surgical precision. And I mean, it'll be quiet. We're doing a lot.
Yes.
There's a lot of mental processing that goes on back there. So you need a quiet environment. But yes, they use that same word.
Yeah.
or making beer and Guinness. That's what they use.
Brilliant. The Irish use it too. Yeah.
Do you still serve as president at pickleballtournaments.com? Because I know you said that are you still in that capacity at this moment?
I am.
Okay, good. Yeah, they need somebody strong up there. They need a smart person up there. But no Winnebago. I'm surprised. Yeah,
that's funny.
Oh, come on! You got how many miles did you log on that thing before you sold it?
Oh my goodness. I traveled mostly in the summer, but I don't know. It wasn't that many miles that I logged. Some 70,000, I think, in the 4 years. So it wasn't a ton.
Yeah, that sounds like.
Did you drive it, or did you and somebody else, or were you?
Oh no, I drove it myself. And I towed my car in the back. When I had my car, I was 45 foot long. It was a 36 foot, rolling condo because it was my home as well. Right? Yeah. So I would winter in Arizona in it. I had a home in Arizona. I sold it. Went full time into the RV, and it was it's a lifestyle, and it was an experience that I will always cherish. Traveling in the RV community is a whole nother, piece you could do itself. I mean, pickleball started in the RV community for tournaments. And so that's a pretty cool story too.
That is, yeah. We've got another one here as we round out the second game. This is a DM coming from the Golden Boy, a former guest on our show, Scott Golden.
Oh, hi, Scott. Yes, I've been on his shows as well. He always does a tremendous job. I always enjoy talking to Scott.
He's hilarious. Oh, yeah. He's cheekily asking, Melissa used to play with us. Melissa used to play the high levels. When's the last time Melissa competed in one of these amazing tournaments that she facilitates?
It was January of 2020.
You remember? It was about 2 years ago.
Yeah, because I hadn't played in a tournament in 2 years at that time, right? And so I had the opportunity. I was going to Arizona to run an event. I had just became age eligible to play in the 50 plus.
Oh, just did, yeah.
I had So now you know how old I am.
Yes.
That was 2.5 years ago. And so so a gentleman asked me to play. It was senior mixed doubles on a Monday. I didn't have to start working till a Tuesday, so I played that day, and I haven't been able to compete since. People ask me if I miss playing. The way I answer that is I so have a passion for what I do today, and I'm a competitor. So if I'm on that court, I want to go home with the gold, right?
Yes.
And so I know that's not really realistic, but that's what I'm going to try for. But when I'm running the tournament operations for a tournament, I get to win that gold medal every single day.
You do.
So, and we're competing with ourselves to just be better than we were yesterday. So it still feeds that competition need. But yeah, I would, if I had the opportunity to compete again, I would, and I would throw myself in it 100%.
I bet you Rafael Nadal would like to play with you. Wouldn't you, Rafa?
Well, Melissa, no, she's a very, very skilled person on and off the court. No, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get my foot right and practice pickleball. No, it's going to be great.
Well, if he would be my partner, I'd be back on the competition scene.
Really fast, huh?
He's so quick. He's like 6'1", got the wingspan, amazing lefty.
He's pretty fast.
You two would be a great team, yeah.
Right. Now, another question that Nick Smith asked, do you ever see a charity event possibly where pickleball pros and tennis pros might get together? Do you ever catch the two ever kind of interacting?
They've already been doing that without necessarily charity, but it has been toward charity. John Isner has come and done some events. You've had Andy Roddick do his event in which he and Andre Agassi did raise money for Andy's charity.
Yeah.
So, we've already been seeing that happening.
Yeah, the AR Foundation. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I remember that. Andre helped with that. And I love that you mentioned Isner. That guy doesn't even have to jump to pull an Ernie. Right. He just kind of leans over there and steps over the corner. It's just amazing.
And this year we saw Michael Phelps and Larry Fitzgerald come out, which was really exciting. You could see Larry Fitzgerald plays pickleball. He was pretty good.
No kidding. I bet she's pretty fast. You know, that
I bet he's still quick. Yeah.
I can't imagine Isner reaching across the kitchen. I mean, he can almost touch the net behind if he stands behind the line there. And he can. That's unfair.
He's 7 feet tall.
Right.
His wingspan is amazing. When he came in to do that event at the Texas Open, I think a couple of years ago, he came in to the tournament operation. So we took a picture together. I mean, I look like I'm like 2 feet tall.
I look like I'm 2 feet tall. We were at the press conference for the Dallas Open, and Dirk Nowitzki, whose birthday it is, by the way.
Oh, today?
Yeah. So
happy birthday, Dirk.
Happy birthday to Dirk. So Dirk and Isner were there with, pretty average height guys like you, me, and Peter Lebedev's, and we're not short.
No.
But next to them, holy cow, it's an exact foot. They are 7 feet, 6'11", something like that. It's crazy. And petite little Melissa next to that cat. Yeah.
But I have to thank Mr. Scott Golden again for asking that question. One day he's going to see me back out on that pickleball court, but he reminds me. He's the only one, I think, really, that reminds me that I used to be pretty good. So I appreciate him doing that.
That was so sweet. When I got that DM, I'm definitely pulling that up, and we're gonna use that tonight. Yeah. Wow. Golden Boy, a celebrity in his own right.
Yeah, he saved my bacon when we were over at the Lifetime. I didn't know the pickleball community very well at that time, and I was going to go on the air by myself, and I was like, oh no, this is my first time to ever do pickleball.
Yeah.
And I see Scott down. He had his tripod.
Right.
And I had talked to him earlier.
Yeah, he was live streaming off his phone, right?
Yeah, off his phone.
Yeah.
And I go, hey, Scott, do you want to come up with me and live stream? He goes, really? I go, get
in here, brother.
I mean, he literally 30 seconds he was up there. He was a natural. I mean, Scott.
He's so
I was
funny.
like, oh my gosh, Scott. I mean,
I don't know if he drinks,
saved me.
Don't know if he drinks coffee or not, but he just seems like the guy who doesn't need.
Oh,
he's already up.
Right. And he's a twin.
When you talk about the live stream on the phone, it reminds me, this goes way back. I mean, it was myself, Dave Weinbach, and Stephanie Lane. So, I mean, if you guys know them, they're legends in the game as well. But it was me and my phone. And we became the live stream dream team. So that, we've gone from my phone and our color commentary and play-by-play to now things being broadcast on big stages. And, I do have the opportunity to also be the voice of the U.S. Open. So I do the broadcasting for CBS Sports Network. I've done that for 5 years. And so I enjoy the opportunity to do that work, but I only do it once a year. So
I saw you in the middle with the royal blue T-shirt at the desk. I thought she's a baller and a programmer, but also broadcaster.
Professional broadcaster.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now, last question before we in this game, before we get to the third game, just out of curiosity, because I asked this to Lord Byron Frezzo a year and a half ago. It might be a different amount now. So I know, is Margaritaville the largest pickleball tournament out there at Indian Wells, or is there a larger tournament at this point?
Yeah, the U.S. Open is the largest tournament.
Okay.
And so that, they're two very different tournaments. They're not really, there's no comparison to them. But, you have Naples, where the U.S. Open is hosted. There's 60 courts there, and all of them have lights on them. Out at Indian Wells, there's 49 courts, and not all of them have lights on them.
Lights, okay.
And so that, and the time of year that we run the national tournament in Indian Wells, it's dark by 4 o'clock.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why, the two venues they're not equal. And that's why U.S. Open has the highest, higher number.
How many people are at the U.S. Open? So that's where I'm going to go down that rabbit hole. How many people participate at the U.S. Open in Naples?
Yeah, so let me tell you, this was unprecedented, but 4,000 people registered this year, 4,000.
Okay.
And we were able to get 3,300 of them into the tournament. And then, through attrition and, for issues, sickness, emergencies, whatever, we ended up with about 2,800 of those competing this year.
So if you had this, excuse me, if you had the space, if you had over 60 courts, I guess you got that factor in the brain up there. How many people, if you had unlimited number of courts, how many people do you think would come to a pickleball tournament such as the U.S. Open? That's where I was going with this.
Well, so this year was 4,000, you know, and the way I see that, so when the U.S. Open first came, the first year, we had 800, that was 2016. The next year, we had 1,200 register. And from that year to the next year, we're 2,200 that registered. And then we went from 2,200 to 2,700 to 4,000. Oh. And so it wouldn't surprise me if we had 5,000 people registering next year.
Yeah, because I think, you know, the last couple of years with COVID, that could probably kind of lessen. But now with the governor off, literally, you know, and I'm glad COVID is not as prevalent in our lives as it was several years ago. But 5,000 people, do you think you could do it on 60 courts, or would you need 100 courts?
No, we would have to have more days. I mean, the most that we're right at court capacity. Okay. And so when I say it depends on the participation spread as well. I remind people of that too, because the demand for some events are higher than the others. You know, your 3.5s, your 4.0s, you know, and this is also another stat for you guys. When, you know, 2014, you know, 80% of the people playing pickleball were over 60. Now, you know, 8 years later, we've really seen that number equal out to where now we have about 50% of the people are over 50 and 50% of the people are under 50. So we keep seeing the game get younger. So depending on your participation spread, if at a place like the U.S. Open, we're really at the capacity at around 3,000 people for a 7-day event, which is what their event is, on 60 courts, all with lights.
Golly, that's unbelievable. I'm sitting here, just my mind just thinking you know, I'm a tennis tournament director, and AJ is as well, and we're sitting there thinking about those numbers. It's mind. Yeah. Boggling. Yeah. Is there an algorithm that you use? Like you say, okay, I've got 4 courts, and I can get, you know, 16 people on those courts. Is there kind of what's kind of the skinny on that? Not to give away the secret sauce, but
well, we have and it's funny. A girl who works on my team created this calculator because she got tired of asking the question of me, and I told people I'm not a mathematician. I just know from the experience and that sort. So she took this knowledge and experience and created a calculator for us. But I'll just kind of give you, you know, so an 8-court facility, for example, if you're playing your play hours 8 to 6, let's say 10 hours, and you're running a double elimination tournament, I will tell people you can run about 54 teams, 84 matches a day on that. So 84 matches of about 54 teams on that type of facility. And then you can scale that up based on if you're going up 4 courts, if you're going up, you know, to 16 courts, you know, that type of thing. Right.
Yeah. Because that's gold for me. That's why I was sitting there thinking, because I know if I have, you know, 16 courts, I've got 64 players I can play at one time. You know, it's a multiple of 4. What I work off of, and
that's a well-researched number because you know how long these games last.
Right. Oh yeah. And I can, you know, I was working with Chicken and Pickle out in Kansas City, and you know, and they've been working their tournament with us for a number of years, and it's, you know, it hits it right on the nail on the head every single time. You know, so our tournament capacity calculator, which we also provide for tournament directors who are working with us to be able to plan their venue based on the number of courts they have, the number of divisions that they're running, how many hours a day that they can run. But that's just, you know, one I can give you guys an example on. And we got a lot of 8-court facilities out there. So if you want to run a longer day, you can certainly do more than 84 matches that day. You can do more than 54 teams that day. But that's about 110 players in a day on an 8-court facility. And again, I tell people that's a 10-hour play day, because if you're putting on a tournament, like you guys know, right, that's about a 14-hour day for you.
Right. It's 2 hours before and about 2 hours after by the time you get moving on that thing. Yeah. No, that's just really fascinating stuff, because you know, that's where I was really kind of going to enjoy this conversation, because that's the mind that starts working and starts thinking about, you know, the number of people you can get out here on a particular type basis. You know, with 5,000 people, do you see anything further out there? Could pickleball get to a 10,000 person.
Well, I'm sure, but then you have to. The discussion that I have is then what is too big, right? When you get a place where it's just too big. I mean, I can tell you you're running. You got a U.S. Open event. They spend months. I mean, they'll spend all year planning, right? They'll spend 2 months, just trying to get volunteers ready. There's like 500 volunteers there, and then you're spending weeks just getting the facility up and ready to handle, the 3,000 people that are showing up there now. So you have to ask what is just too big, and then what is it would take to run an event that would have 5,000 people. You'd be looking at a couple of weeks just to do something like that. And then, and it could be longer if you have weather issues and you got to deal with contingencies around that and things. So, so for me, there is a point to where it can be too big. My experience is this 3,000 number is a good place to be. But after that, it maybe just not make sense.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer, because that's where I've wanted to see, is there a number that's scalable at some point, and you kind of go, no, bigger isn't always better at that point. But 3,000, that's a nice event. That's a week. I'm sure a lot of cities are interested in events like pickleball, aren't they? Or is it? Are you starting to see? Because I watched something on Real Sports a couple of years ago with Bryant Gumbel, and they were talking about kids sports.
Love that show.
Oh my gosh! I was sitting there watching this thing, and people were building, cities were building baseball fields and softball fields for kid tournaments. Because they know that hundreds of kids will come to these baseball fields, build it, and they will come kind of deal. That's why I was wondering about pickleball. Do people realize the economic impact now? I guess cities do. If you roll in and go, hey, we've got 3,000 people coming. Guess how many people are going to eat? How many people are going to get gas? How many people are going to sleep in your places, other than Melissa, who's going to sleep in the Winnebago at night? You can't count that. So sorry about that. You're down a night right there. But I can't imagine the economic impact of a 3,000 player tournament. Rolling into Naples, Florida. I mean, good grief. I mean, that's got to be in the millions of dollars, I'm sure, easily.
It's in the millions of dollars. That event has won, awards for their contributions to the county, and the county really has embraced that event too, and embraced pickleball. I mean, there's 64 courts. So when the U.S. Open comes, they cover up 4 courts where underneath the big canopy where the championship matches run. So when U.S. Open isn't there, there's 64 courts there, and they have future plans for another championship court that's got a couple of thousand, seats in it for spectators and that sort. So, more, just so many more exciting things to come for pickleball.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm sitting here just, it's really just fun to watch, how this thing is growing like a kid, like kids, and it's beyond its infancy, but still, to me, it's in its infancy. And then just to see how this thing is really mushrooming him, and just to be a part of this thing in some small way, especially here.
Well, when you talk about infancy, I give this example too, like with tennis and other sports, they've been around over 100 years, right? I mean, the sport of pickleball really just started to get on the map with the baby boomers around 2010. I mean, and pro events or pro tours just came on 2 years ago.
Right.
So really, you have to put that in perspective. I mean, a lot of people get frustrated at the immaturity of pickleball, but because it's maybe not as mature as some other sports, but it's coming along very, very rapidly.
Yeah.
We're impressed and proud of that progress too. That's really neat to see.
Well, should we go into
It's time for the third game. Who's sponsoring this? We've got a couple new ones.
New ones. We're going to mention Conga Sports.
Love Conga.
That's our buddy Rich Nair. It's out of Southern Cal. He's got a new type of Green Tennis Network. I know AJ's involved a little bit with Conga Sports.
Right. I'm on the advisory board. Another brilliant guy who really sees big picture involving sports in general. Certainly, it's mostly tennis and pickleball, but he's talking about other sports, and just a remarkable guy. So shout out to Rich Nair. He also runs Tennis Club Business really, really well.
I don't know if you've ever read that, Melissa. It's a really good newsletter. He does. It's not all tennis. It's pickleball
business.
Well. It's for tennis and pickleball. Club Business, but it's under Tennis Club Business.
That's
if you
right.
look him up, Rich Nair. He's been on the show with us, so he's really good.
Yeah, he's written a book about drop-in secrets, about running huge events, and successful events, and I know he'd be interested in hearing this conversation too. And then we've got a brand new sponsor.
Yep, Circula. That's our buddy Mark Weiland with Sports Pros Connect. They're trying to connect sporting people all over the world.
Right.
This is a big opportunity for Mark and Sports Pros Connect.
Yeah,
to be a part
it used
of
to be.
Circula.
Yeah, it used to be more of an executive search or a pro search kind of a firm, and now he's getting into name, image, likeness, endorsement deals, all kinds of stuff.
Right.
So neat to see Circula sponsoring.
Yeah.
And along with Conga Sports, the third game tonight.
That's right. Yep.
Well,
So-
Craig Bell, you got 3 games within the third game. Go to it, man.
Well, Coach Dave says, CB1 AGC, make sure you treat Melissa with respect. This lady deserves. She's pickleball royalty.
Clearly.
So Coach Dave weighing in from Searcy, Arkansas. So I'm sure you know Dave really well.
Yeah, thank you, Coach Dave. Thank you.
All right, so Melissa, first band you saw in concert.
Oh, it was I don't guess it's a band, but Cyndi Lauper is the first concert that I ever went to. Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper.
I'm guessing mid to late 80s.
Yes, you're exactly right. It was 1984.
Oh, that's great.
And I guess the first band would have seen was not too far after that. Was Night Ranger.
Night Ranger. Wow. Was Cyndi Lauper at the same time?
No, she was all on her own.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
It was right around that same time. I was 14, 15 years old.
Yeah, you're probably.
Where was this? Is in Tyler? Was this in Tyler?
It was Tyler, Texas, at the Oil Palace. Yes.
The Oil Palace. I've never heard of it. Is that downtown?
No, it was kind of off, kind of outside, off the beaten path of town, I guess, so they could, have more space and parking and that sort.
Because we know Tyler pretty well. I'm sitting there trying to think where the Oil Palace. My son went to Tyler Junior College, played football over there, and we know all the pros over there. So I'm sitting there going, Oil Palace, man, that's interesting.
Look it up. I went on to see other things there.
Wow.
Reba McEntire and the Oak Ridge Boys. And
Boy, she's a concert pro. Okay, so that leads me into the next question. What kind of music do you like? Is there a favorite that Melissa McCurley listens to? What's on the phone or the iPad or what are you listening to?
It is all over the board. I mean, I have also been 1992 to MC Hammer.
Really?
So and that was a great concert. But I listen to everything. So if I put on my Pandora, I'll do just easy listening, and it has a little variety of everything. So I like. I guess I will listen to rap music, country music, top 40 music. I just a blend of it all.
She is genre fluid.
Right.
A little bit of everything.
So before you run a big tournament, do you get some peppy type music? Do you get fired up, before you go in on the first day, or not really? Did you play some smooth jazz?
I think that my music is the sound of my printer printing score sheets. That's what gets me good.
One of those dot matrix, right?
Yeah.
Way back in the day.
Yeah, so no, I don't listen to music to get myself going. That's just the sound of printing sheets.
Yeah. All right, now, another question in this first part of the third game. All right, let's say that you're in a band, and you might be in a band. You might have been in a band. Don't know. We're going to find out. What position are you in the band? Are you the lead singer? Are you the piano player, drummer, guitarist, bass guitarist, glockenspiel player like me? I'm a world famous glockenspiel player. Nobody knows that, but I am. I'm a real big time glockenspiel. Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. So I would be a lead singer. That would be what I enjoy to be. Yeah. And, way back in the day when I was a little girl, I used to get on a little stage up at a place called Mr. Lucky's in Phoenix, Arizona, and I would perform on Friday nights.
Really? What were you singing?
Well, there's a song called Cow Patty by John Anderson. If you've ever heard it, it's called Cow Patty. You'll have to Google that.
I am.
listen to it. But and my brother and I used to do a little skit to the Cow Patty song.
At Lucky's in Phoenix, huh?
Mr. Lucky's in Phoenix. It's now closed down, but the last time I drove by there, it's been a few years ago, the sign was still standing, but they had all you could eat catfish on Friday nights. They would have the kids come up and perform. I would have my, Texas cowgirl hat on, and I would sing. And I remember I come off stage, and this old guy says, he's like, "Little girl, what's your name?" And he's like, "You're going to be a star one day."
Wow.
But I can't sing to say. I mean, maybe I could when I was 10, but I promise you, it did not transfer to my voice as an adult. My life.
Oh, that's a good story. Yeah, we've never had Lucky's from Phoenix, Arizona.
Mr. Lucky's.
Yeah, we're going to have to look at having catfish night. It was probably what, $1.99 all you can eat.
Probably so.
Is your brother older or younger? Just out of curiosity.
He's younger. He's 4 years younger.
Does he play pickleball? Is he in the pickleball world?
Yeah, he plays pickleball.
Oh, cool.
Is he out there playing tournaments, or does he just more recreationally at
Just more recreationally, yeah. And back in the day when we were competing, he and I competed in some tournaments together.
Oh, that must have been
really?
awesome.
Yeah.
Mixed doubles team.
Yeah, and my mother and I have won several tournaments together. We won bronze in the Canadian Nationals. My mom is also a national champion. She's so we get our athletic ability from her.
Yeah, that's awesome. Does she still live out in the Arizona, Phoenix area?
No, they came out here to Hilton Head with me. So.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Follow along Melissa. Wherever Melissa goes,
That's
then
sweet.
Moved them over to the East Coast, huh?
I wouldn't have come if they weren't willing to come. I would have stayed. So.
Yeah. What part of Phoenix, just out of curiosity, were they, Camelback, were Scottsdale, Mesa?
Surprise.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a big pickleball facility out at Surprise, too, I think, isn't there?
It should be a lot bigger, but yeah, they have a 16-court facility there. I mean, back when I came, Surprise was the pickleball capital of the world. I mean, all of your top players were coming out of Surprise, but that's changed a lot.
Right. Oh, gosh, with the advent of it still blows my mind to see how pickleball's come in it came on my radar screen only about 8 to 10 years ago, believe it or not. That's all I've ever known. I did not know about pickleball until literally, probably about 2010, 2012.
Yeah, you were one of the early adopters around here. Of course, aforementioned Coach Dave Redding.
Yep. Yeah, Coach Dave got me really involved in the world of pickleball because I remember
it was through you guys that I learned.
Oh, yeah. Dave, and I remember Dave. He had his paddle, and it has the Texas flag and stuff on it, and he was competing at the Tournament of Champions. He's a top player in the country too. Always love to see him at tournaments. We don't see him as much now, but he's very busy in his tennis world and all. So, but still playing pickleball. But he was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he's a good man. He called me up and goes, "Hey, Craig, let's go play pickleball." And I'm like, "Dave, come on, what is this?" He goes, "Oh no, they're playing over in one of these little cities that's connected to Dallas called Richardson." He goes, "Hey, we play on Monday nights," and I'm like, "Dave," I go, "Come on, really? Pickleball?" I go, "Is that the thing that they did?" The ladies that play tennis in probably about 2010, 2011 set the Guinness Book of World Records here in the Dallas area at a let's see, it's called Fieldhouse USA.
Huge fieldhouse, huge indoor,
Lots of basketball courts and a lot of different volleyball would be volleyball. So they set up these pickleball courts up there, and I think there were about 600 or 700 ladies that went up there and played at the time, which was a Guinness record. Now, obviously, that record's been broken probably many times. If there's 3,000 people playing in Naples at one tournament, I think 600 isn't that big a deal. But we went up there, and I remember there was a guy that was a pickleball pro too from Arizona, maybe a surprise, and he was one of the he was an older gentleman, and his wrist, he showed me, he said he had an operation on his wrist, and he said he couldn't play tennis anymore. He was a tennis pro out in San Diego, but he moved over to Phoenix and was teaching pickleball. And I'm like, wait a minute. I go, "You're teaching this game to people?" He goes, "Oh,
Tremendous.
yeah, it's really big. It's really, I hate to say it,
deal.
It's a big deal. I'm sorry. I hate to go there again, with that comment." But he goes, "It's really big out here." And I'm like, "Okay." And then a couple of years later, and that's when Dave called me up and goes, "Hey, let's go play pickleball." And I'm like, Dave, what are you talking about? But yeah, Coach Dave, he's very instrumental in really starting on the forefront of North Texas pickleball. That's where I learned, introduced to Dom Greco, Charlotte Rivera. I don't know if you know Charlotte. She's one.
Sure. Yeah.
And which led to Jean Ann Stasny.
That was back when the paddles were made of wood.
You're right.
I remember those.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, I started with a wood paddle.
We'll get there in the third game.
Oh,
of the
good.
Third game of the third game. Yeah. So don't give away the beans just yet.
Yeah. Hang in there.
Don't spill the beans. Well, all right. Let's go to the second part of this third game. All right, first paid job. What was Melissa doing besides singing at Lucky's for a couple of bucks on a Friday night at the singing for catfish, free catfish?
There you go.
What was your first paid job?
I worked at the Sonic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I sure did.
In Tyler?
In White House, Texas.
Yes.
I went to school at White House just outside of Tyler, and that was my first paid job. I got the job on the Fountain. It was minimum wage at $3.35 an hour.
Wow.
But I knew that if I hustled and I could, get the food and stuff on the trays and run out to the car and deliver the food as well before the car hops could get to it, I'd get extra money. I would get tipped. So I was hustling.
Were you on the skates? Because I remember, some Sonics had roller skates.
Right.
They had people that skated. Were you on skates?
Fortunately, we did not.
They always looked unstable. I always felt like somebody's going to crash and burn. You better be a pretty damn good skater, because I saw a couple faceplant, around the drive-in at Sonic's.
Yeah, and it was cool. I used to come in on Sundays early and, make like thousands of onion rings. You had to hand bread them and everything in these big 5-gallon buckets. So, but I probably ate more of those extra long cheese conies.
Yes.
than I did at salary. They probably had. She's got to go. She's eating more food than we can we can pay for.
Well, usually they want kids to eat all that stuff, because within about 3 weeks they get tired of it, and they go, we're not going to eat any of those things anymore. In White House, Texas, the Sonic. Wow, we've never had Sonic mentioned on the.
Yeah, that's a neat all these remarkable, successful people we've had, they all seem to start off with a cool little job, and they did the grind, they did a hustle,
right?
Yeah,
and still going. Even
and here you are. Yeah, I love it.
Didn't have a paper route. Didn't throw the White House Times or anything like that.
Well, I did help with the paper route when I was 5.
Yeah.
I helped with I believe it was my mom that was doing it. Maybe. I was 5 and I helped with paper route, but I never had my own. I did babysitting jobs, that type of thing.
Sure.
Before I started at the Sonic, but the official working age, I guess, was 16. So as soon as I hit 16. I worked at Sonic, and then, I went on. I thought my career would be in the grocery food chain, to be honest, because I went on to work in delis, and then I was transferred up to the Dallas area for Tom Thumb, if you remember that grocery store.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah, it's still around.
And I joined the military, and then I found myself with Albertsons in Florida, and they wanted me to make me a regional manager for opening new delis, and then I was recalled to active duty for Operation Desert Storm, and so that ended my food grocery store career that thought was going to take off, but that didn't. I had my path was planned a different direction. So
you didn't work at serving food in Desert Storm. You weren't cookie or
No. I joined in the hospital corps. So because I thought I was going to be a nurse or doctor. That's the path I thought I was going to take. But instead, I found myself in computers.
Interesting. Wow. Boy, what a life, from Sonic to delis to Desert Storm. I mean, all over the place. How many countries have you visited? I mean, I'm sure you've been in a lot of different countries, haven't you?
No, actually, I haven't. I've been to Spain, I've been to Canada, I've been to Mexico. So those are the only 3 places outside of the United States that I have been. So, yeah. And then, I worked for Ross Perot's company, EDS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
And we helped as part of building the world's largest intranet for the Navy and Marine Corps. So people ask me questions, how do I stay so calm and cool and, at tournaments? And, for me, I worked for the Navy. I was in charge of communications. And so, and I did a lot of disaster recovery. I lived on the Florida coast, not too far from New Orleans. And so I did a lot of disaster recovery for the military when hurricanes would come through and wipe out the computer systems. And so for me, when that happens, people's lives are on the line. And then when I wanted to work for American Express, when they were down, you're talking about $1 million a minute for a company. So brackets are not stressful for me at all. Brackets are a piece of cake.
So did you work at the EDS right up the street in Plano? Did you ever be at because I know that they had the big command center and had the big wall of TVs and up in Plano. Did you ever go in there?
Oh yeah, so I was part of the government sector, and we were. I lived in Washington D.C. area for 11 years, but so I worked for the government sector, and our headquarters was in Herndon, Virginia. So I did find myself in the Plano office on a number of occasions, coming to meetings and that sort. I call it mothership, right? So I would have to return to the time. My headquarters was out of Herndon.
All right. Yeah, no, I just remember that one up there. I always wanted to go in the war room and never made it in. One of my members at another club said, "Oh yeah, I'll take you in there," because he was working for HP at the time. He goes, "I can get you in there." And I was like, "Okay, great, let's go." And never made it in there. I just thought it'd be cool to see that big wall.
It was amazing. They actually had ambassadors come, HP or EDS employees at the time. And so, I mean, so you mentioned HP. I would never have come to pickleball if HP didn't buy EDS. I bled EDS blue. And so, yeah, I never would have come to pickleball. But when HP bought EDS, that was a culture change from a product company. We were a services company. Those two cultures just didn't fit well for me. And I went on to work for American Express after that.
Did you ever meet Ross Perot? Just out of curiosity, or were you around him?
No, I never did meet Ross. A lot of the people I worked with did, because Ross, when he would interview people, he would interview their spouses and that sort too, because EDS became, it was like a military structure, military environment. And once you joined it, your whole family was a part of the company. So, and, the culture that EDS developed, you guys may or may not know this, but there's a book about it called On the Wings of Eagles, to where there were some EDS employees being held hostage in Iran. And Ross Perot actually took a helicopter with other EDSers and flew into Iran and pulled those people out. And that created a culture inside that company that was very, very strong. We never left anyone behind. And as a services business, there would be times where other accounts needed help, and we would come in and help them and make sure that them and the customer could be successful. So, Ross Perot is a pretty great guy.
Yeah, I heard some stories along those same lines.
Yeah, and you've clearly brought some of that to that culture to PT University. So congrats there. Well done.
Leave no player behind,
That's right.
Favorite movie, TV show? What do you like to watch? Are you a Netflix person, Hulu, Roku?
Yeah, I watch a lot of Hulu. I watch a lot of Netflix. My favorite movie of all time is The Color Purple. I love the movie. Mm-hmm. I saw that movie in a theater down in Houston in 1984, and very long movie. So, I watch. There's all kinds of stuff that I watch. I loved Ozark. I love the drug cartel, shows. Those are usually full of a lot of action. I love America's Got Talent as well, right? So there's several of them. There's just so many to name, and I binge watch, and then I'll find the next series. Now, people have told me to start watching The Lincoln Lawyer. I've heard that one's really, really good. So that's the next one I'm going to try to watch.
Haven't heard that? No, yeah, Lincoln Lawyer. Haven't heard that. Is that on Netflix, or what's it on?
Yeah, on Netflix.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner? What's your favorite?
Lunch is my favorite.
Really? Okay. Deli sandwiches?
Well, I do eat a lot of sandwiches, but I'm a cheeseburger kind of girl.
Oh, so
okay. I estimate I've probably eaten 15,000 cheeseburgers in my life, and with an equal amount of French fries.
Okay.
So yeah, but cheeseburgers and fries.
So the big question: Whataburger, Sonic?
Whataburger all day long.
There you go.
When I got transferred to Pensacola, I moved there sight unseen, but when I got off the airplane and got in the car, went over the bridge, I could see the orange and white awning. I knew I was home.
You're like, okay, Whataburger. Yeah. People who don't live around Whataburger don't get it. I guess it's an unbelievable cultural phenomenon. What a hamburger! I mean, I know the Californians like In-N-Out Burger, but it's not the same.
No, Whataburger all day.
Yeah. So the number one with cheese, ketchup, mustard, no mayo. I mean, do you put mayo on your cheeseburgers?
The only thing is on my cheeseburger is mayo, mustard, and ketchup, and I blend it all together, and that's it. I don't eat fruits and vegetables, so yeah.
Really?
No, I don't. Unless it's your starchy kind, right? I'll eat fries. I will eat corn, but yeah, if it's outside of that, no.
So only mayo, ketchup, and mustard on your cheeseburger, and cheese. That's and meat and bun, right?
That's it. Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Somebody needs to make. They make it with mayo and ketchup. There's Heinz does this good blend, but no one has made a blend and put it in a bottle of mayo, mustard, and ketchup. It's amazing.
I had tried that. Now Utah, they call that fry sauce when you put the mayo and ketchup together. Because I lived in Utah for 3 years. I went to Weber State, and they have fry sauce, and all that is mayo and ketchup. And that's like, I can't. They always ask, "You want fry sauce?" I go, "Fry sauce? No, give me ketchup." It's like no fry sauce. Have you? I know you said you've been up to Brigham City. I've been there a zillion times, and then also down to St. George. Did you ever encounter the fry sauce? Are you a fry sauce fan?
I haven't had the fry sauce, but it sounds like something I'd like.
Yeah, you just have fry sauce and add mustard.
Just add mustard, right? Right. All right. Now, speaking of food. All right. Now we always like to ask this question as well of our guests. And AJ and I know we'd invited to this party, shindig, hoedown. It's a soiree also too in Oklahoma. We like to use that word. It's a big event, and you're going to invite some people to this party to have cheeseburgers. Maybe I don't know what you're serving, but who are some people that you'd like to invite? It can be anybody from Adam and Eve all the way forward. They can be in the metaverse. You could invite people from movies. It doesn't matter.
Any era, literature, fiction, nonfiction.
Right.
Who are you having?
Who's Melissa inviting?
Yeah, who are you having over?
I'm inviting God first. He's the very first person that would be at my table, and then Dolly Parton's got to come. I love Dolly Parton. I probably have maybe Conway Twitty come by. Let me see. Billie Jean King, I would love for her to come by. Cindy Lauper, since she was my first concert, kind of have her come by as well. So anyway, and I don't like big groups. Anyone that goes out to dinner knows it with me. It's got to be 6 or less. I'm not. Anything is after that. It's just too overwhelming for me. So
well, what a fantastic group! God, Lauper. King, Conway Twitty.
Yeah, Dolly Parton. I mean, is this like Dolly Parton with Porter Wagner back in that day, or is it more like the modern, more recent Dolly Parton?
Oh my goodness! I guess it would be the more recent Dolly Parton, but I have enjoyed Dolly Parton. I mean, my favorite song, I guess you could say, and I told you I have this eclectic, stuff that I listen to. The Coat of Many Colors. That is my favorite song. And so when Dolly Parton's little miniseries came out, I don't know 3 years or so ago, and she had it was one called The Coat of Many Colors, and it tells her story of her growing up and how her coat became to be. But anyway, that's a very special. She's just a really neat person who's always stayed close to her roots and never forgot where she came from, and is always given back to people and is very inclusive of everybody. So
she really is, and that sounds like it's a reference. I'm going to look up that song, a reference to the older Joseph in the Old Testament of the Bible, huh?
Yes. And her mother was she's very close to her mother. She came from a very religious family, or a family of faith, I should say. And yes, so you're exactly right. So you should, if you've not heard that song, you should.
Coat of Many Colors. I'm on it.
Look it up. Have you ever been to the Grand Ole Opry? Because I know that pickleball runs through Nashville sometimes.
Tennessee.
Have you ever been over there?
I've never been to the Grand Ole Opry.
Really? I'm surprised. Yeah, because as much as you like music, I thought that you might have been. Might visit. Have you visited Dolly World? Have you ever been over to her amusement theme?
I've not been to Dolly World either, nor to Branson or any of that. But it's something that I definitely want to do.
Yeah. Wow. That's a good dinner. Good group. Are we serving cheeseburgers with
what are you
mayo,
making?
mustard, and ketchup?
Well, with a group like that, I'm probably laying out a Mexican food buffet,
Ooh,
right?
okay.
So
Yeah.
I got to have some enchiladas. I need some tortillas. I like corn tortillas, right? I need some sopapillas. I got to have my chips and salsa.
There we go.
Beans and rice, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I every time I sit down, if it's not, I'm looking for the chips and salsa all the time. That's just like my go-to deal. You know,
Love it.
Just sitting there for.
You guys remember ponchos?
Oh, yeah.
Ponchos? Oh, I used to love it. And let me raise that flag, right? Because you go through the buffet, get all you wanted.
We still have a couple ponchos in this area.
I think there's the one
Richardson,
in Dallas.
maybe.
Yeah, Richardson has one over on 75.
Are you kidding me? There's
No,
still a
There's still at least one, yeah.
Right.
I'm coming a day early in November.
Yeah.
There you go. Come on, we'll take you to Ponchos.
We'll take you to ponchos for sure.
We'll buy. It might be like $4.99 now. All you can eat instead of $2.99. You know.
Yeah.
And to raise the flag, well, it might be $5.99 for something like that. No, I remember Poncho's Mexican buffet. There was one in 39th Street in Oklahoma City. Yeah, we went down there many a time. Yeah, actually by the tennis center. So I took AJ. AJ and I went up to a tennis tournament in Oklahoma City a couple of weeks ago.
That was awesome.
And I showed him around, some of the old stomping grounds. And there was a Poncho's right where the Chickasaw place was.
Yes.
Right across the street, there was a shopping center.
Yeah.
There was a Poncho's Mexican.
Not too far from, we got to see Craig's old high school courts.
Right.
The Putnam City Pirates.
Yes, the Pirates.
Yeah, black and orange. And they made the tennis courts.
Yes.
Dark gray and orange.
Very unique.
The lines weren't white; they were orange. I thought these guys, they're thinking like pickleball people.
That's right.
Where you have different colors on the court, and it's just gorgeous. Yeah, that was cool to see.
Yeah. So, but there was a Ponchos. I've visited, frequented many of Ponchos, and I think I looked it up. And there is that one over on Richardson, maybe over by Beltline or someplace like that.
Sounds right.
So yeah, next time when you come in, we'll
going.
We're going to come in a few hours early, and AJ and I we'll come get you at the airport and be your Uber drivers over to Ponchos.
Love it.
Can't wait.
All right, now I got an idea of what you're going to answer on this: East Coast or West Coast?
I like both coasts. I mean, I've lived on them both. So I'll describe it this way. When I'm out on the West Coast, my hair looks fantastic, but my skin and my lips are a mess. On the East Coast, my hair's a disaster, but my skin and my lips feel great.
Right. Do you want the humidity or you want the dry? You want humidity or dry? Right. Yes. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's they're very different. That's for sure. I'm sure living in Hilton Head. Where'd you live on the West Coast? Were you in L.A. in that area, Southern Cal? Or
Arizona is the West Coast for me. So.
Yeah, and especially it's a dry heat. That's all that is. It's just a dry heat. It's only 115 on the pavement. You can fry an egg, but it's a dry heat. Trust me.
Right.
Mountains or beach? Are you a mountains or a beach person?
Mountains. I live out here by the beach, but I'm kind of a land rover.
Yeah. Now, mountains in the wintertime, mountains in the summertime.
Well, mountains more in the fall, really, for me.
Okay.
I like to see the leaves changing colors. Yeah. I like to be able to have my jacket on without being freezing cold. Just kind of that comfortable temperature.
Yeah. So have you been up? Like in the New England area, up Vermont, in Massachusetts, Maine. Have you ever been up there in the fall time?
Not in the fall. I've been to like the New Hampshire and Maine and that sort in the summertime in June, but not in the fall. But I've been in the Georgia mountains during the fall. Just beautiful. And then I lived in the DC area for 11 years. So I used to go through the Blue Ridge Mountains and that sort and watch during the fall and see their colors change. Skyline Drive, I think was the name of that drive.
In Blue Ridge, Northern Virginia or Virginia,
He's an East Coaster.
Yeah.
Have you been around those?
I've driven all those. I love them.
Have you really?
Yeah. Amazing driving. And, I mean, you don't want ice and snow, but when the weather's good, it's just awesome driving.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've never frequented that area a whole lot. I'm going to say I've been through it, but I've not ever really been around there and spent any time there. But it's beautiful. It looks like it on the internet. I mean, you see some great pictures, and I'm sure even around South Carolina, you get back over to the east side a little bit, North Carolina back in there, the Appalachians. In the is Appalachians. So I don't want to say anything wrong. It's like Nevada and Nevada, or somebody saying that. But favorite season? What do you like? Summer, spring, fall, winter?
Well, fall is my favorite season as well. So, I just like it. I know it's going, and the winters around here are mild.
Yeah.
So yeah, I said I like the fall because it's not too cold, it's not too hot, and I like football. The feel of football season and things like that.
Are you more in the pro, college, high school?
Yeah, I've always been watched the pros. I tell people I was branded with a star on my butt at birth. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. All the way. So
right. Do you still follow the Cowboys quite a bit?
Not as much as I used to. This pickleball has really just taken over my life full time. But I mean, I used to be the one that had the DirecTV Sunday ticket, so I could always see the Cowboys games.
Right.
And I would not leave my home on a Sunday, right? I was following it all day, but I can't do that anymore.
Now, you're kind of in between Jacksonville and Carolina and then Atlanta. So which is your team kind of in that area?
I haven't found myself connected to any of those teams.
No.
But when I was in Arizona, I did like to watch the Cardinals.
Yeah.
People kind of considered the Cardinals almost as a Cowboys fan, it was almost like a second home to the Cowboys, right? So it was I was connected to them somewhat, and I think I went to a Cardinals game. So anyway, but no, I haven't connected to any teams out here on the East Coast.
What do you like to do in your spare time when you have a spare time? Any spare time?
I like to go shrimping and crabbing. So that's something I get to do out here. I catch my own shrimp and I catch my own crab. And there's nothing like fresh shrimp and fresh crab, that you've just caught for the day. And you go make up some noodles, put some garlic and butter on them, and steam up or, saute up your crab or your shrimp. It's excellent.
Hopefully you're not like Kramer and stole you remember when he stole the lobster, and crab out there on one of the Seinfeld episodes and the police came?
The traps.
The traps. Yeah, he stole the traps. That was really funny.
I've never done that.
Right. You've probably seen him out there and you're like, I'm going to leave him alone. That's somebody else.
Yeah, I do see him. Now, I can't say I may not have pulled one up and looked at it. But
put him back. Right there.
Yeah, put it back in.
Right. Now, how big are those shrimp? Do they get big shrimp? Or are they like, okay, I better get, some pliers and get them up? Or, can you grab them with your hands?
Are small, and I try to, but, I'll try to keep the ones that are about 4 inches or so inside. So, they're decent size because the small ones are challenging to deal with because it is a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
You got to de-vein them, you got to peel them, you got to vein them. I mean, it's a process.
Right. So you're a griller? Do you like to cook and that kind of stuff? Do these go on the Barbie, as the Aussies would say?
No, I usually just saute them up in a skillet. Yeah, and the crab I will steam. I will steam the crabs.
I love crab. Boy, that's a...
Yeah, we got blue crab out here. They're very tasty. So
okay, I'll be out there. I can be out there in about 10 hours probably. I can drive.
Okay.
I don't fly either. I drive, so I'm not...
okay.
All right, well, now let's move into the third segment of the third game here. We're going to pull it back to pickleball now. We're going to talk about your first pickleball paddle. It was a wood paddle. And I wanted you to save that thought. So you had a wood paddle?
Yeah, I had one of the Dillo wooden paddles that came out of the actual pickleball set. And, I used that for quite some time. And then I moved to an aluminum paddle, and then I went to a graphite paddle. But that wooden paddle, Gary Belkowski, I don't know if you guys know him, but he still uses that same paddle. He's at a 5 level, and he wins all the time.
He's good,
and
yes.
He's good. Yeah. He's good. I loved my wood paddle. It was probably weighed 20 pounds. I don't know. But
Wow.
I played that guy. I actually played one year, the Texas Open. I didn't broadcast. I told Jeannie, I go, hey, I want to play in this one time. And played him. I played that guy with the wooden paddle. I was like, wow.
Awesome.
I talked to him. He was a nice guy, too.
Yeah, he's still playing. I just saw him, I don't know, a couple tournaments ago. He's still playing with that wooden paddle. It's got, he's not in the best condition, but he's still winning with it.
Now, are there more characters in pickleball like that out there? There's what's that guy's name? Gizmo. It kind of dresses kind of funny. Has a bunch of layers. It looks like a, I'm not going to say a clown, but he has kind of.
But he wears like the shorts over the pants with the crazy socks.
Right. Are there other personalities out there like that?
Not any quite like Gizmo. Gizmo's got his own pickleball farm, and he, tries to help, people that, you'll see him at detention centers. You'll see him doing junior development stuff at his farm. So people are really, drawn to his look and him, trying to serve some of the underprivileged. I'm trying to think if there are more characters out there like a Gizmo. I can't really think of any that stand out, like that.
Yeah.
You're starting to create, there's some personalities and that sort that some people can be drawn to based on what kind of rivalries that they're creating on court. But, but Gizmo and Jay Hall, that's his real name. He,
okay.
He's the one.
I know he's a nice guy. I remember talking to him. He seemed pretty friendly. The time he was here, like I said, at the Texas Open, and I remember he was walking around. He was practicing. He just, hey, how's it going? He's pretty.
You know what? I'm missing one of our biggest characters, Kathy Dimitri.
Oh, okay.
So Kathy, she's got this chicken that she goes around with, and she's the one that puts everybody's face on a stick, and you will see her tournament after tournament after tournament, and people love to take their pictures. I do too. With she put my face on a stick. It's like, hey, you got to get your picture with your face on a stick with Kathy, and or with her chicken now. So she's one of the great supporters and characters of pickleball. So
is it a live chicken? Live chicken?
No, it's not a live one. It's a little rubber chicken.
I thought, hey, that's a pretty good stick right there.
That's funny.
Have a live chicken? Come on, you got to get your picture taken with the chicken.
Name it and have some lunch later.
So what's your paddle of choice today, now that you're not playing with a wooden paddle anymore? What do you play with?
I'm playing with the head gravity.
Head gravity. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I need a lightweight paddle. My paddle weighs like 7.4 to 7.6 ounces, just a light paddle. Yep. Little graphite base.
What's your favorite surface, when you play pickleball? Are you like a synthetic or wood? Do you like the regular, more like a tennis court back behind us?
Yeah, like the tennis court surface, like what you have behind you. Yeah, that's what I prefer.
Would you rather be inside or outside?
Outside all day.
Really, outside? You don't like the? I like it pretty nice in here. It's about 75 degrees in here. It gets a little testy right now around the Dallas area. It's been in the hundreds here lately. So.
No, we just get out and play early, or we'll play late because it's really nice in the early mornings. But I love to play outside. But unless it's really windy, the wind will drive you crazy with the pickleball. But I like to be outside.
What's your most embarrassing moment in pickleball? Have you had like you've fallen over, the net going around it doing an ernie, or have you, hit your partner, run into your partner and knocked him over or something? Is there anything that?
No, not in pickleball. Softball. I mean, I haven't played softball in 24 years, and I was invited to go out and play a couple of weeks ago. And then within 30 minutes, I had fallen down, I had strained my groin, and I busted a blood.
What kind of softball was this, man?
Hey, listen, it's just slow pitch.
Yeah.
So anyway, but undoubtedly, but like I said, I hadn't played in 24 years. But in pickleball, I can't think of any embarrassing moments other than I lost my serve for 2 years. That was pretty embarrassing. And so it wasn't until someone showed me how to do a backhand serve that I was even able to play again. It was pretty tough.
Did you get the yips basically? Was that what you're?
I get the yips, but I have it. My wrist does a turn like this, and I bowl that way too, right? So when I go to strike the ball, my wrist will just automatically turn, and the ball just goes anywhere than where it's supposed to go. So
interesting. Yeah. That's. I was telling AJ I had the yips feeding about 3 months ago. I don't know what. All of a sudden it came in. I called him out. I go, you ever get the yips when you're feeding? Like feeding tennis balls. I was feeding fast, and all of a sudden, I just couldn't feed tennis balls to people at the net hardly. I just same thing. I'm just like I mean, I'm fine now.
It's all mental, right? It's all mental.
Yeah. I remember when I got it, I was sitting there, I was trying to hit a shot and trying to get it inside a certain area, and then all of a sudden it went downhill real fast, and then it became mental. But now I'm fine again. So I can relate to that. So favorite tournament out there Is there a favorite one? Maybe if you played in, or maybe you visited, been a part of. Is there one that really kind of stands out over the other? I know you like them all probably, but is there one?
But, so, and we touched on them earlier. There's the there's the tournament in San Clemente, which is just really nice. The Lifetime Fitness facilities really have great venues for putting on pickleball tournaments. The APP event that we just did at the USTA National Tennis Center, that was phenomenal.
Yep.
Of course, the US Open, and then Indian Wells out in California. So those are really probably some of my 4 big favorites. But one of my there's a place down in Arizona called Incanterra, and it's in an active adult community. They have 8 pickleball courts. I've run several tournaments there when I was first starting, and just a beautiful setting out there in the desert with the mountain views. And they've got a swimming pool, and they've got a little bar side grill, and their courts are kind of sunken down, and so that's one of my favorite places as well. And it's the city of St. George. I mean, my favorite place to go for for a city wise, and then they've got the pickleball there. What a beautiful place.
Yeah, that St. George is pretty special. I've traveled through St. George a couple of times. I've not been recently in the last few years, but it was a really spectacular place down there on the southwestern border of Utah, Arizona, kind of in Nevada, kind of right there close by. So
New York is my favorite, right? Why, guys? Because it's the APP Melissa McCurley Cup.
That's right.
That's why.
It should be. Did they repaint all the courts? Did they take all the tennis courts, and what was the configuration?
Not all of them. There were some that were painted over, and then the others were taped.
Okay. Yeah, because I know at Indian Wells, do they repaint all the courts?
All 49, yeah, wow. They do.
That's amazing.
They bring in the real nice, sturdy, Douglas type nets as well. Very nice.
Yeah. Now, I've seen that on TV, and I was like, wow, that is such an
sharp.
Yeah, I just really haven't looked at the U.S. Open this year that much, but I didn't know if they took the whole facility and did it like they do at Indian Wells, but not this year, huh?
No, not this year. Just some of them.
Will there be a Grand Slam? This is off script here. I never asked this question, but will there be a Grand Slam in pickleball like there is in tennis? Will there be an Australian Open kind of thing? Will there be 4? Even like in golf. I was watching
4 majors.
4 majors. Will there be a 4? Are there considered 4 majors in pickleball?
There are currently, but all that's evolving. And right now, those 4 are U.S. Open, the national tournament, the New York tournament that we just had, and the PPA championships in Las Vegas. So those are considered the 4 Grand Slams from a ranking perspective now. But we're still such in our infancy now, defining and evolving to what a Grand Slam might be. It'll be something totally different maybe by the time we next talk,
Right, yeah. Will the Texas Open be in there at some point, you think? Will it be?
Yeah, I don't know. It could. It absolutely could. So don't know.
Has any player won the calendar year, all 4, the calendar year slam?
No, not yet.
Not yet. One day.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So, and do they all recognize in their mind, like, okay, I've got to play these 4. These are the ones that I'm going to be.
Like the Triple Crown, like the 4 majors. Yeah.
Not currently.
Okay.
And so that's why I think that it will evolve, because we could get into a whole nother conversation on this with the PPA and their contracted pros, and they can't go play other events. And, some of those are Grand Slam events. So
I see.
So,
yeah.
We'll save that for another day, for part 2. Who's your favorite pickleball player? Just out of curiosity. Who's
my mom. My mom.
The OG.
Right.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So give her a shout.
I don't have a single favorite. There's just too many, and they have different styles. They bring different things to the game. So I just really couldn't pick a favorite if I tried.
Craig, who's your favorite
in pickleball?
Yeah.
Boy, howdy. I don't know. Besides me? Let's see.
Besides yourself.
Let's see. Let's see. I guess that's a hard question right there. I've never been asked that question right there.
I thought I'd turn it around a little.
Yeah, on me. Gosh,
sorry,
I'm going to say the Golden Boy.
You're going to Scott Golden.
I like Golden. I like him. He nice guy. I
love him.
I just really, admire him, what he's done, how he's worked really hard, not just as a player, but as a broadcaster as well. So I'm going to say the Golden Boy. I'll give him a shout out. He's got his own paddle too.
He does. Yeah. He's got the golden paddle.
The golden paddle. That's right.
Yeah.
Golden Boy.
Maybe win the golden ticket.
I bet he will. That's awesome. Yeah, if I were to answer, I'd go with Jocelyn Devier.
Oh,
Jay
yes,
Devier.
Yeah, you like Jay.
That guy's
right.
amazing, yeah.
Big, guy.
Stylish, athletic French guy. Enjoy watching that guy, yeah.
Yep. That's a good one.
Did you have any superstitions or rituals when you played a lot more pickleball? Did you not step on any lines, or did you have to turn your water bottle a certain way?
No, nothing like that.
No superstitions?
No superstitions. I'm not superstitious at all for anything. So I don't have to have like the same right sock, or my shoelaces tied a certain way. I don't have anything like that. No, just go out and play.
No, not eat at the same restaurant. If you win, you keep eating at that same restaurant. We have some friends in tennis that do that. They had Phil Farmer, who's one of our friends. He coaches on the Pro Tour, and he said that they're over in Paris, and when the Bryan brothers won their first Grand Slam, they ate at the same restaurant, ate the same way.
They kept winning.
They kept winning. We're not changing. We're not changing. So he was over there this past French Open with a couple of new guys, and they ate at the same place every day at the same meal.
And they went all the way to the finals.
They went all the way. Yes.
Well, I guess there's something to that.
They were a little. They were a little stitious as
a little stitious, not superstitious, but just a little stitious.
Yeah. So, what sport would you have played if it wasn't pickleball?
She played them all.
I know.
Girl.
But which one?
Oh yeah. So probably volleyball.
Really?
Volleyball's awesome.
Yeah, really love volleyball.
Where'd you play in volleyball? Were you
probably libero? I'm guessing. Petite, quick girl.
I played. So I played high school volleyball, and so we actually went to the state championships that year. We got state runner-ups. That was 1987, and I don't think anyone from our school. No one from our school has made that accomplishment since. So, and I went on to play some league volleyball as an adult when I lived in Southern Maryland, and enjoyed that. And then eventually I just as my career was taking off, I just didn't get to do volleyball really, and I guess I really quit all sports until I started playing flex league tennis, and then flex league tennis, and then moving to Arizona led me to pickleball.
Interesting. Yeah, that's now. Do you play beach volleyball? Just curious because you live over on the beach. Did you?
Yeah, no beach volleyball. No, just all I guess in gymnasium type volleyball. Yeah, indoor.
Yeah. Now volleyball is fun. One of my oldest daughter played volleyball. Went around to a lot of events and watched a lot of tall girls get my daughter's only 5'5". This one I go about junior high age. I think I was watching a tournament in Dallas. I remember, and she was on a okay team, travel team, but not very good. But I just remember seeing moms that in the gold medal bracket were like 6'5",
and the
6'6".
moms are taller than us.
Yeah, and I was sitting there looking around, and then this is my oldest daughter, Ashton. I remember telling her we were driving back home. I go, Ash, you might want to try another sport because your mom's 5'7" and I'm 5'10" and a half. Kind of. So there's no future in this. So
that year that we went to the state, our tallest person was like 5'9". We were just all about defense. Yeah, and
wow.
I know for me, it's all 5'2" and a quarter, but I had a 27-inch vertical lead.
Whoa!
Wow, you can jump.
I could really jump. Now it's 2 inches now, but back then it was 27 inches.
Wow!
And so so we had we were just a gritty team, and every game other teams would be warming up. Our families that were watching that, oh God, they're not going to get past here because everybody'd be 6'5" and just spiking the heck out of the ball. But we had some amazing defense, and so our short people could jump, and it was pretty unusual, to be such a short team and do so well.
Was that at White House?
It was White House. Yeah.
Wow, that's I did not know that. That's really interesting. Learn something new every night. All right, last question. This is it. We've kept you for a couple hours, and we know it's getting late out there on the East Coast. If you could wave the magic pickleball wand, and you're the commissioner of the great game of pickleball, is there anything that you would do to change it, or just leave it the same? Leave it the way it is and let it go kind of where it's going right now?
That's what I would leave it. That's what I wouldn't do is change it, right? I would leave it the way it is. It's successful the way it is. Its uniqueness needs to stay unique, and I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, just let it go. Just see what happens organically, right? Yep,
just let it go. Don't try to fix something that's not broke, right?
Right. Yeah, you can overthink these things sometimes, and pickleball seems to be on it's definitely trending up. It's not trending down at this point. So, yeah, I'm interested to see really, like I said, where pickleball is going, because I'm a novice right now, kind of seeing what's going on in this thing, and I think there's a lot of interesting things like chicken and pickle versus all these tournaments that are going on that are captivating. Like what Melissa was saying down at Naples at the Open there with 3,000 people there. I'm just still shaking my head at that, and can't imagine that kind of to get people to want to do that, and because I don't think tennis has ever had that. I mean, we're large. I mean, tennis is a very large sport, and it's ingrained. Like you said, it's 100 years old or older. Really, high school, college tennis, professional tennis. It's ingrained, so it's not going anywhere really. But pickleball has really kind of captivated my interest, and just to watch it, kind of from afar and see where this thing's going, and be able to talk to the great Melissa McCurley tonight, for a couple of hours. This has been really fascinating.
You've been delightful.
I enjoyed it, and so I want to say, so for me, and I am a change agent. I love innovation, and so one of the things that about pickleball that I wouldn't change is how much innovation is coming into the game,
right?
And those are the types of things that will continue to help us grow. And a lot of people doing a lot of interesting things, and to innovate this game is, again, why we shouldn't change and just let it take the path that it's trying to take.
Well, will there ever be, I was just thinking about this, line calling devices instead of referees? Kind of like tennis, they have play side, or they have these other Hawkeye, whatever the system is. Will pickleball ever have a line calling system like that? That's artificial intelligence.
Yeah, they'll have that. It's a matter of time that, one of the pro tours is already doing video challenges, so looking at instant replay, that type of stuff, and handling that. So it's just a matter of that next step, and someone being able to develop it so that it works for pickleball, because you can do a whole thing on this too. It doesn't compress like a tennis ball does. So, so if you see a ball for pickleball, if someone says, "Oh, it's on the outside of the line," well, that ball is out, right? So it has to really kind of hit right in the middle of that line for it to be in. So you need some equipment that can, really see some really minute space for a pickleball to be able to call the lines.
Yeah. Anything on the paddle front or ball front? Is there going to be, you think, any improvements to any balls or paddles, or the texture, the feel of texture is what he always, AJ always talks about texture. I know there's a tolerance on the paddle that they can't be like an emery board, but it's because sometimes there is a paddle here in Dallas now that I was like, wow, how did they get that past the USAPA?
Yeah,
it's called Dinkstar, and there's a guy named. A friend of ours named Khan that developed this paddle, and it says USAPA approved, but you can feel it, and it's like, whoa, that thing has a little more texture than what I thought.
Yeah, you can spin the ball with the Wrath of Khan.
Right.
with that paddle.
Bada bing, bada boom.
When I came in, there were 2 paddle manufacturers. I think there's some like 300 of them now.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's always going to be change, and USA Pickleball as a governing body will always have to keep up with that change. I know they do things now to where they can do paddle testing, so roughness tests and that sort for test things like what you're talking about too, for paddle manufacturers that are being approved. So well, just like other sports, like how rackets evolved from wooden rackets, right? Baseball, evolved from wooden bats, or it's the same thing with this sport. The paddle will continue to evolve.
Yeah, because it seems, like I said, this one's just interesting that there's a lot of texture on it, and I was like, wow, because most of them are fairly smooth, and it is hard to get any type of spin.
And sometimes people check each other's paddles,
right?
In competition, they want to make sure there's nothing, nefarious going on with the sandpaper.
Right, exactly. So
yeah.
But well, thank you, Melissa. We've kept you 2 hours and 15 minutes right now, so we certainly appreciate that. It's closing in on the 11:30 time.
We've loved every minute with you, Melissa.
Goodness,
Thank you so much. You're not just brilliant, but also delightful. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
I've enjoyed you guys a lot. So I mean, the time just flew by, and when it does, that means you're having a good time. So thank you both. I've enjoyed it tremendously.
Yeah, well, please hit us up next time that you're coming.
Yeah, we're taking
Poncho's Mexican Buffet.
That's right. We're taking you to lunch, and do keep in touch and hit us with your address. Yeah. We want to send you a little care package, some swag from At the Net.
All right. I look forward to it, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night out there in Hilton Head and
South Kakalaki.
Is it Hilton Head, right? You're in Hilton Head?
Yeah, I'm right off Hilton Head Island in a town called Bluffton.
There we go.
Bluffton, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so out there in the South Carolina area. So have a great night, and we'll look forward to seeing you down the road, right?
Yes, you bet. November. I'll send you the date so we can put it on the calendar.
Awesome. We'll see you in a few months, Melissa. Okay. Thanks so much.
Take care. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Good night. Stay in touch. What a delightful guest.
Great guest. Yeah. Boy, howdy. We waited a whole year.
Kudos to you for grabbing that, booking that. It's a great get.
Oh man, she's awesome. I knew that I could have asked her a lot more questions, but I knew I was watching the time up here. And I knew we were getting close to. We better cut off the.
Well, folks at home, whether you're watching the replay or you did watch it live, thank you for that, and hit us with any questions because we will have Melissa on again.
Yes, absolutely, because she's just one of those minds that to be able to be on the forefront of pickleball like she is, there's a lot going on, and maybe there's some other breaking news maybe at some point, right?
Yeah, and she inspires all of us to be innovative and positive and open, and that's what I enjoyed the most tonight.
Yep. So, all right, let's put a little James Scott Campbell on, and we'll get going here. Thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 121 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week as we'll be talking with former 2000 Wimbledon semifinalist
Vladimir Volchkov from Belarus.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the ban. We're going to talk about Wimbledon in general.
Yes.
Playing tennis on grass.
Yes.
He's an amazing guy and still such a fit, great guy, and proud father, and he's got successful kids and all. We're going to learn a lot from Vladimir Volchkov, so join us.
Yeah, because it'll be fun talking with a guy who's actually played on the grass, been far into the tournament on the grass.
That guy qualified, got to the semis, and lost a not-so-bad match to the great Pete Sampras.
Yep. So that's next Sunday night. That would be June 26th.
Yes.
If I'm scoring at home, right?
That's right. One week from right now.
Also, join us Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock on our Instagram page with tennis shorts. We do tennis shorts,
we get to find out what's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts.
Not much. There's not a whole lot there.
2 legs, 2 pockets, 2 questions, and we'll certainly talk about Wimbledon and all the stuff that we love.
And lastly, be sure to tell a friend or friends. We want more people to be netheads, ATN netheads, right? Yep.
Yes. Shout out to you, sharing, liking, subscribing, and Master Systems, Conga Sports, and Circula.
Right.
So thank you.
Thank you all for sponsoring, At the Net Podcast. So, I guess that's about it right now, isn't it? So that's the pickleball news as it
seems to us.
Good night for everybody from Dallas, Texas.
Good night and thank you.